Welcome to the Real Comic Heroes Podcast. Your adventure into the world of comic book movies starts here.
Greetings, citizens, and welcome to another adventure of the Real Comic Heroes Podcast. My name's Travis.
And I'm Patrick with some special guests today.
Hey, everyone. I'm Erik Slader from several different podcasts, one of which happens to be a Star Trek podcast, Too Young for This Trek.
And I'm Bryon Lockhart, also from several podcasts, Marine Corps Movie Minute, Hamilton Shot by Shot, and Marvel Events Timeline Podcast.
Well, welcome, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm glad to beam in here.
Beam, I get it. I know Star Trek stuff.
Surrounded by nerds.
Hate to break it to you, Patrick, but you're on a podcast.
I know, you bamboozled me.
That's a good point. Yeah.
It's been a long con of 7 years.
One of us.
Yeah.
I'm very slow to figure things out, okay?
Yeah. I should have just ended it last episode when I made you watch Vampirella. That should have been the ultimate
Yeah, that one
trap.
almost broke me.
I don't blame you.
Never forgive, never forget.
Patrick, what are we here today for? Yeah. What are we
Star
doing today?
Trek, Star Wars, Star Trek, one of those. First Contact. But is it the first? Yeah, that screwed me off. I kept double checking that this wasn't the first movie.
Oh, right. It's not even the first next gen movie.
Yeah.
Well, I guess I should say up top here, coincidentally, this episode will drop on First Contact Day. We'll release this episode on April 5th.
Right.
But
Amazing.
I mean, technically the episode should have come out like a week later, like on the 13th, I think. But when I saw what the, where it fell on the calendar, I was like, I think I can squeeze this one out to land on First Contact Day. So, yeah, happy First Contact Day, everybody.
That's
The
awesome.
Vulcans should be showing up at any moment now.
Well, we do have a world war. We do have a third world war to get through.
Yeah. Yeah. I thought that was very timely when I was like, oh, right. This, we're approaching. For some reason, I thought First Contact Day was further in the future. And then I'm like, oh, this is too realistic for us right now.
2060s. Yeah.
Yeah. But they had to go through World War III first. So I was like,
Yeah.
too soon.
Yeah. It felt very relevant. Very relevant. Hopefully not too
Yeah, this
relevant.
movie-
I guess we'll see how things
Right.
turn out over the next few weeks. But
Yeah.
Say this movie was ahead of its time.
Star Trek is always ahead of its time. It's constantly
Mhm.
predicting shit,
Oh, yeah.
unfortunately. Well, for better or worse. Like the cell phone thing was cool. World War III, not so much.
Well, it's like the Simpsons of sci-fi.
Yeah. There's that DS9 episode where they go back to the 2020s and there's like this like total economic collapse or whatever. It's like this
Yeah.
capitalist dystopia. And I'm like, shit. Like,
All right. Well, we lost Patrick. He lost power.
Oh,
So
jeez.
I think we just press
this
on.
episode's
and
Red
hope-
Trick. I mean, this episode's
Yeah,
Red Shirt
Red-
is played by Patrick.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like he's being assimilated by the Borg with all the technical issues that he's having. So,
Oh man, poor guy.
Yeah. Well, let's start off with everyone's history with this movie. It sounds like you guys are very familiar with this movie and have seen it a bunch. But I will say this is the first time I've seen this movie. I guess technically,
Really?
yeah.
What? How is that
so-
possible?
I know. Like I
For
never. I'll run through my Star Trek history real quick.
Okay.
I had seen the Generations when I was a kid, and I loved that movie, but I wasn't
Nice.
into Star Trek at the time, so I kind of ignored Star Trek from then on until I got into Star Trek in the last 5 to 7 years here. I've gotten into Star Trek, and I watched everything in order. And
Now, when
I
you say
knew
order,
that
like release order or chronologically? Because
release order. Yeah, I watched the original series, the animated series, all of Next Gen, all of Deep Space Nine.
Nice.
And so recently, my wife and I finished Next Gen and Deep Space Nine, and we've moved on to Picard and Discovery. But
Oh, yeah.
yeah, I mean, when we put all the Star Trek movies on the list, I was like, I'm just gonna wait to go through them, on the show. So yeah, I watched it. My wife and I watched it Friday night, and then I watched it again Saturday morning to do all my notes. So I've now seen it twice, but yeah, first time with First Contact.
That's pretty awesome. Yeah. So that's kind of a cool perspective, because you don't have the nostalgia that we're bringing to it. You can kind of look
Right.
at it for what it is, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, but I also have that recent Next Generation kind of memory that this felt
Yeah.
very familiar. The callbacks were nice,
Mhm.
So
Oh, yeah.
I think it worked out, really perfectly.
I would say so. Like a lot of the Star Trek movies, you can kind of just watch on their own. I think this one you have to have seen the best of both worlds at least for it
Oh
to
yeah.
really
Yeah.
hit. You know?
I think they do a good job of filling you in if you're a newbie, but yeah, it really
Yeah.
does help if you see that one at a minimum. You're right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So what about you guys? Saw it in theaters or what?
Yeah, I guess I'll go first. Yeah, I saw it. I definitely saw it in theaters. Although I have very little memory of the first time I saw it. I was in the Marine Corps at the time, so I can't remember if I saw it
Oh,
just
yeah.
outside of base or if I saw it on leave because it was around. It was the holidays, right? It was November, December. It came out, and I would have
Yeah.
been
Yeah, I
home.
think it was
And
November.
that's
Yeah.
yeah, I could have easily seen this around Thanksgiving at home with friends.
That
How,
Oh,
yeah,
cool.
that it was like November 22nd, I think. So that would have
yeah,
been
This
yeah,
one's
right
what,
on.
97?
6.
95?
96, yeah.
96. I was
96.
close.
Yeah. Right, you're in the ballpark.
Yeah.
But I have a more vivid memory of actually seeing it my second time in theaters. The base that I was stationed at would show movies as they were kind of leaving the theater for free or it was like months
Mm.
after they were out of the theater. So I brought my then girlfriend at the time there. I'm like, "Hey, let's go see Star Trek. It's free. Got nothing better to do." She was down there. And
Sweet.
the reason it stands out to me is because as we were walking into the movie, we were late and the movie was just starting. And before everything on base, they play the national anthem. And when you're in the service, you freeze. The second you hear the first note, you freeze. Well, she was
Oh,
unaware of
yeah.
that. So we're in the aisle
Oh, okay.
walking down and we're standing there. She's like, "Why our seats are right here? Why can't we sit? Why can't we at least step?" And I'm like, like, just standing there frozen. And she's like, "Why can't we just go here?" And I'm getting these like sideways looks from all these like, gunnery sergeants that are ready to chew my head off. And I'm like, "Hey, I can't do nothing about it." I don't.
Yeah.
She's not a Marine.
Yeah.
But it was one of those non Star Trek fan. I mean, she was not a Star Trek fan. I mostly was.
Mm.
So that was like surprisingly, I remember she enjoyed it. So because it's just one, I think it's one of the more mainstream Star Trek movies.
Oh, without a
Um,
doubt. Yeah.
but that being said, one of the things I did throughout my Marine Corps career is I had a buddy of mine who was a fairly decent Star Trek fan, and he had the tape. It was a two
Huh.
VHS tape of Best of Both Worlds.
Oh.
So
Oh,
whenever I
yeah,
had
yeah, yeah.
yeah, you used to get the tape. And there was key episodes you could buy, but
Yeah.
he owned it. And so what
Mm-hmm.
I would do is I would ask him to borrow that, and then I would go out into town and rent the VHS of First Contact. So when I had a 24-hour duty, I had 24 hours to kill. So I'd take Best of Both Worlds, part 1 and part 2, watch that, and then I'd go right into First Contact.
Nice.
And it was kind of a
Mm.
tradition I had whenever this duty would come up because I knew it would kill enough time. So I revisited that
Yeah.
movie often. But honestly, it's been a few years since I've seen it. Till just recently, till just
Yeah.
the other day.
Eric, how about
Nice.
you?
So I kind of grew up with TNG, and when this came out, this was the first one I saw in theaters, and it was kind of mind blowing for me, like something about it was, I was a kid at the time, and
Yeah.
man, how old was I? I must have been like 9, so I was like just like the right age for this kind of thing, and this is really what cemented my Trek fandom, because it was like, oh, Star Trek can be cool, you know what I mean? Like I was always a
Yeah.
fan, but like I kind of like was in, maybe this isn't the best metaphor, but in the closet about it. Like I didn't really talk about it a whole lot. But
Yeah.
then like this movie came out and like it was so mainstream, like you mentioned. So like even South Park like made a joke from this movie, So yeah, I was like all about it.
Huh. Well, right on. Yeah. Well, let's just kind of jump right into talking about the movie. There's I love the way this movie ties into the series with, opening with this kind of Borg nightmare that Picard is having. And I love the fact that it's something he still wrestles with, and I think Star
Definitely haunts
Trek, I
him.
think Next Gen did a good job of, like, when he was assimilated by the Borg. What was that, like end of season 2 or 3?
Season 3 into 4. It
Into
was the
4. Okay.
yeah, it was season finale of 3, one of the best, one
Yeah.
of the greatest season
Yeah.
finales of all time.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
As a
Well, I
kid, I
love
geeked
how
out. Yeah. Yeah.
Mr. Worf, fire, I think it was, right?
Yeah.
I love
Fire.
how season 4 starts, and they're getting him back from being with the Borg, and everything wraps up nicely. But then the next episode after that is when he just goes and visits his brother at the family farm,
Yes.
because he's just wrestling with, like, this major thing just happened to me, and I'm not quite ready to deal with that. And
Pretty
Next
traumatic
Generation
stuff.
they did a good job, I think. If your name was Data and Picard, they did a good job at, like, recurring things that would affect that character. And the Borg being kind of one of Picard's, like, through line, things that really stayed with him. So it makes sense to
Yeah.
open this movie that this is still affecting him. So I like that.
For my rewatch of this, I did watch Best of Both Worlds. I watched the first Borg episode in season 2, which is amazing.
Yeah.
Q
But then
Who
I
was it?
watched it was Q Who. That's correct.
Yeah.
And then I went ahead and watched Best of Both Worlds, but I watched the episode right after Family. And as a kid, that was a boring episode, but it's
Sure.
really good. It's like a really cathartic kind of moment for Picard, and
Yeah.
it I would include that in, like, you should watch that if you're gonna watch, like, do what I did and watch Best of Both Worlds, then First Contact. Throw that one in there first, because it's very relevant and rare for that type of show back then to follow up on that.
Oh, definitely. I love how this movie opens with this crazy flashback. It feels like a horror movie when it starts.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like something out of Alien, It's and then the way they show scale with the Borg ship, like you're zooming out from Picard's eye, that was just such a cool shot. I feel like that holds up really well.
Yeah, no, I think most of the visuals did hold up, and yeah, that opening scene zooming out of the Borg's cube, I guess, is really done well. We just recently watched Picard, and they deal with the Borg cube is involved there, and it's still, like, this is just as good, I think, as that. So,
Are you caught up on season 2?
No.
Oh man, there are so many connections with
Okay.
this movie. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Not
I think
to
we're going to
spoil
do
anything,
all
but-
of Discovery, and then we'll go and once, by the time we get through all of Discovery, season 2 of Picard should be, I would think, ready to do in one, one
Definitely.
binge or whatever.
Discovery's been really good too. I will say the newest season's kind of dragging a little bit, but I feel like it would be a good binge watch.
Okay.
It's just, when you have to wait week to week, and then there's like that 2-month gap between, when they take a break, it's kind of like, breaks the tension for me.
They, Picard wakes up out of this dream, and he gets a call from his an admiral, and it's the first instance of his Borg sense that he has throughout this movie, and it's a cool new addition to Picard. It's something that technically, he would have had kind of this ability to sense the Borg in Next Gen, so it's like, why suddenly is this a newfound kind of ability? But I like it here. I think it's used really effectively throughout this movie.
Oh yeah, I love that. Nice touch.
Yeah, it never comes up in the show, but one thing I like, so 7 of 9, I sporadically watch Voyager, so I don't know if 7 of 9 had that same ability or not.
I think so.
That's something they developed.
Yeah, there's it's not really spoilers because that show came out forever ago, but towards the end of the show, there's an episode where the Borg Queen communicates with her telepathically, like directly.
That's a new addition to, well, we'll get there.
Yeah.
Yeah, though that's a whole nother.
We do get the I think our first look at the Enterprise E, which is just a total redesign from the Enterprise D that we've had through all of Next Gen and in
Oh yeah.
Generations, but obviously got destroyed in Generations. And
Yep.
as ships go, like this one looks more aggressive. It looks more like a military vehicle, not a science ship, but it's
It
still a
also
cool design, I
kind of
think.
it reminds me of like a sports car. Like it's really slick
Yeah,
looking, But yeah, it is
yeah,
armored up, like for sure. The way it takes on that Borg cube at the beginning is nuts.
yeah,
Yeah, it seems like you said, it's more militaristic, and I kind of wonder if it's like they've kind of touched on that in the new Trek, the 2009 Trek. It's like after the
mm,
Romulans came
Yeah.
through and they realized they were outclassed, they became more militaristic. So
yeah.
I wondered if
Mhm.
it was like Starfleet got a little more militaristic to deal with the Borg. That being said, when that ship first
Yeah.
came out, I was like, oh, I love the new design. When I was watching it this time, I'm like, it's all right. But I like the idea that it's better. It's more of like a cruiser or a battleship compared
Yeah.
to the Royal
Oh, yeah.
Caribbean cruise ship that the other one was.
Yeah,
As much
That
as I
was the
like
D.
it,
Yeah.
yeah, as much as I like it, the D was like, hey, we're just going on, the Love Boat through
Yeah.
space.
It's the love boat. Yeah.
that's a great comparison.
Good analogy. I mean, they had families on board. What was that about?
Yeah.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
know. Let's go into the neutral zone and fight the Borg with families and
Yeah.
children. And I mean, I understand they're trying to show the humanity is more advanced. It's a
Sure.
science vessel.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yep.
it has war capabilities, but it's really not about that. But I mean, come
Yeah.
on.
There's a few episodes there where it's like, maybe we should drop these guys off on a planet here before we go
Right,
engage the
right.
Borg,
Quickly, we go to Picard's ready room, and I gotta say, like the crew looks great. I think everyone
Oh, yeah.
looks probably the best that they've ever looked. Like Beverly's got a new
uniforms are
blonde
sharp.
hairdo that, yeah, the uniforms look good. Jordy's got his new eyes.
Yeah.
I think everyone just looks good.
Yeah, nobody's put on that, you know, advanced age weight yet. Like
Yeah,
everybody's still in
yeah.
their Yep.
Yeah.
You can tell time has passed, but they're all still pretty. Yeah, they look.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
This is like peak next gen crew, I
Ye-
think.
Yeah,
Definitely.
And they find out that the admiral wants to send the Enterprise to the neutral zone, because I guess I've glossed over the fact that the admiral called Picard to let him know that the Borg have attacked some space colony on like Ivor Prime, I think it was, and so the Enterprise crew was like, okay, great, let's go fight the Borg. Let's go Borg hunting.
Yeah.
And Picard's like, no, we're gonna go to the neutral zone just in case Romulans show up and take advantage. And the crew is like, what? We're the Enterprise. Why aren't we heading into battle? And it's a fair move, I think, by this admiral to not want
Mhm.
Picard, dealing with the Borg because of his history with the Borg. But I also
Yeah, it could be an
wonder,
unstable element.
yeah, would it be better to remove Picard from the, send him on a mission and let Riker take the Enterprise into battle? Like, seems like that would be your move, not to take
Yeah.
the entire ship off the playing field.
I always question that move because I'm like, Picard would be their best asset because he was one of them, and he would know, and as he proves
Experience.
Yeah,
repeatedly. Although this movie also proves why he may get a little unstable with dealing with them.
yeah,
But also, if I don't know if you guys remember, after they had a iBorg episode where Hugh
Mm.
was
yeah.
Oh yeah.
Picard
Love
had
that. Love that episode.
it's so good.
Great
I
freaking
rewatched all that.
episode.
I rewatch all the Borg episodes of
Okay.
TNG before watching this.
Nice.
But Picard had a chance to destroy the Borg right then and there.
Yeah,
And there was
Mhm.
some fallout from that. There was another episode where one of the admirals, basically was like, "You had a chance to destroy them and you didn't take it." And Picard defended his position, and made sense, and it does make sense. He did the heroic and honorable thing. However, Starfleet Command probably remembers that he had a chance to do something about the Borg and he
That's a
didn't.
good point.
So they don't.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a
So
great point that you don't get that sense here in the movie, but that the Picard
That
from
tracks.
Iborg, yeah, that would make total sense that Picard may, you know,
Might
may
not be
not.
able to make the tough call when it comes to
Yeah. But then the Picard we have in this movie, he's all about taking revenge on the Borg and wanting to wipe them out. So you know,
The Picard in this movie is different from the Picard in TNG.
a little bit.
I think we can get into it as we go, but like I think his reaction is natural and a human emotion. However,
Oh, totally.
it doesn't line up with the Picard we see after he's been assimilated, and then like
Yeah.
yeah,
I feel like
he's dealt with it
this
better in the show, and now he's having PTSD
Yeah.
years later.
Yeah,
kind of,
I think that's how you can explain it. But I feel like it would have been more effective if we had not seen the Borg since then.
Yeah,
at least in TNG.
for sure.
I feel like might have had a bigger impact.
I wonder if if this movie happened, between seasons 5 and 6, or you
that
just
would have been
move this
interesting.
movie in the timeline. I guess maybe it would work better. But
and you got to remember too, the show was the show and it was popular, but movies are made for a general audience, and so the general audience probably, I mean, again, they fill in the blanks enough that if you have no idea, you know that he was Locutus of Borg, and now he wants revenge. That's all you need to know.
Sure.
Yeah. So I mean, it's like that's why they did that. I think, really more than anything. But we can, knowing the show a little bit more intimately, we can pick apart some of the nuances. But as a whole, it makes sense for a movie. A movie experience.
Definitely.
Oh, totally. I get that.
I think this whole movie works really well. Like the pacing is great throughout.
I think I'd mostly agree. There's a few areas that I think it dips a little bit. We'll get there, but everything I think that happens with what the Enterprise is doing, I think really holds up. We've got Picard and Riker. Like once Picard has told his crew, like, yeah, we're gonna go sit this one out. Then it cuts to Picard in his ready room, or in his room, and Riker comes in. He's like, "Hey, yeah, we've scanned the neutral zone, and here's a bunch of boring stuff." And I love that Picard is open and honest, at least with Riker, that they're both dissatisfied at the just being in the neutral zone. Like,
this is certainly worthy of us.
That shot where Riker walks in and they're both in the window. Like, that's a really cool shot. Like, and Frakes does an excellent job in this movie.
I forgot he directed this one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he's the man.
This is probably his best directing job as well. Like, there's some really cool shots throughout this.
And I wondered, would Frakes, would Riker not be in this movie, in this story much, because he was busy directing? But I think you get a fair bit of Riker in this movie, so I don't think he
get some good Riker moments. Him and Deanna.
Oh man, yeah. They find out that the Borg have reached Earth, and Starfleet is engaging the Borg, and I think they do a really great job, and it's a great decision to in quotes show the battle. Just on their faces, the faces of the crew as they're reacting, they're listening to this attack. You hear the audio, you hear the various ships in the fleet talking about what's happening in the moment, and then you get this the Borg itself somehow takes over the communications and basically just gives an announcement like, "Hey, resistance is futile. Stand down. We'll assimilate you. We'll take over, your culture and your technology, and merge it with our own." And it's, I think, a great decision to let us experience the battle that way versus showing us some big action scene with a bunch of scale models. And we will get that, but I like that they do this here. Yeah.
But I think this is one of the most effective moments in the whole movie. Like, it's really powerful. It kind of puts you in their shoes a little bit,
For sure, yeah.
It's kind of what happened with Wolf 359 too. Like, the Enterprise was unable to get to the battle.
Oh,
but in that we didn't actually hear anything. They showed up and saw the aftermath, and we're like, oh,
sure.
So this is, like I said, much more effective to kind of, because what comes next is, the decision they make. This is why they're hearing them.
Yeah.
They're hearing the battle not go the Federation's way, basically.
Yeah, it's pretty desperate. And it's just one Borg cube. That's what's so scary about the
Yeah.
Borg, is that one cube can wipe out their whole fleet.
I did want to mention we have baby Neil McDonough is part of the bridge crew.
Yeah.
He's just a character actor on everything. So
Well,
Is that
it's not buried. The
Hawkins?
lead, he's dumb.
Hawk, yeah.
Lieutenant Hawk, which
Hawk.
is a great name
Lieutenant
for a
Hawk.
red shirt.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. He's like a named red shirt.
Yeah.
Spoiler. But Neil McDonough, I love him whenever I see him. But he's of course in the MCU as Dum Dum Dugan. Yeah.
Oh, I never made that connection. Yeah, the dude with the stash, right?
Yeah. There's actually quite a few Marvel connections to this movie. Of course, you get Patrick Stewart as Xavier. Yeah. Let's see. Oh, geez, I had another one, but they mentioned the Phoenix at one point, so that's obviously X-Men as well. But that's a bit of a stretch on my part. But Jonathan Frakes played Captain America when in his younger days. He was a
right.
Yeah,
like photo like cons, right?
Like at cons, at like
Oh,
public
yeah.
appearances, parades, and I've heard
had
this
no
funny
idea.
story about he was used to being Cap and being very stoic and like Cap would be, and then one day the Spider-Man guy was sick, so they had Jonathan Frakes do it, and instead of doing all the cool poses like the guy normally would, he just walked around as Captain America, all stoic as Spider-Man.
Nice.
That's hilarious.
So yeah, obviously the hearing the battle has an effect on the crew, and that's when Picard says, enough of this shit. We're going to Earth. We're joining the battle.
Maximum
And
warp.
yeah, like basically, I hope everyone's okay with this. And Data has a pretty good line of saying that I speak for the entire crew with saying, well, I don't remember exactly what he says.
To hell with our
To
orders.
hell with our orders.
Oh, okay, nice.
Jinx.
That is a
I think
great line.
I think I haven't seen the movie, but I know he's in the new Independence Day sequel, and I think I was expecting to hear Brett Spiner say, "I think I speak for everyone when I say let's go kick some alien ass," because from what I've heard, that's like how that movie ends. But the Enterprise heads to Earth at maximum warp, and they show up, and we get this pretty great battle. And to my surprise, I see this little ship zooming around and firing at the Borg cube.
Little.
And I turned to my wife and I said that I think that's the Defiant from Deep Space Nine. And then a second later we go into the Defiant and we see Worf piloting it, and it's like, oh shit, yeah, that's awesome. Like, we just watched all of Deep Space Nine, so seeing the Defiant in a Star Trek movie was a big deal for me. I wasn't expecting, because I wasn't sure the timeline of where the shows and the movies are released. I know that Deep Space Nine started coming out at the tail end of Next Gen, so I know that there was some overlap there. And with this coming out in '96, I want to say Deep Space Nine ran until like 2000, maybe. Yeah. So we're like right in
Definitely
the middle
90s,
of Deep Space Nine. But I like
and then Voyager.
Voyager
had just started right around here, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, that's right.
If I'm not mistaken, because there's a couple tie-ins with that too.
Yeah. I do know one Voyager tie-in.
Yeah. But of course,
so
everybody's favorite actor from Deep Space Nine, Adam Scott's there.
Oh yeah, baby Adam Scott is part of the Defiant crew. Thought that was cool.
You see, the movies had to get creative to get Worf back into him, because he was no longer with the Enterprise crew. He was on Deep Space Nine. You could see him week to week if you wanted to. So it was always like, oh, there's a wedding and he happens to be here. And,
exactly.
Yeah.
This
I
was
do
really
think this
a clever way to include him, I think.
This one, this was the best, I think. Yeah.
And
it
makes
he elevates the movie a little bit too. Like his character's great in this movie.
Oh, my favorite bit of Worf, and it comes in here right when they show the Defiant. Well, when they show the interior of the Defiant, and he's ready to ram. He's ramming speed.
Yeah.
Today's a good day to die. All that good stuff.
It's so good.
They play the Klingon music.
Yeah.
They
every
do.
From
time.
Wrath of
Yeah.
Khan. Yeah.
Yeah, every time they show him, I'm
Mhm.
like, oh, and I love it. It's like such a great addition to his character and to this movie.
Yeah.
Just that little
Oh, yeah.
sting.
Yeah. The music, the Jerry Goldsmith music in this movie
Oh,
is
it's
incredible.
so fantastic. This is one of the best Trek soundtracks.
Yeah, yeah. It's weird because like I have a big film score music library, and that's mostly what I listen to if I'm not listening to podcasts. And so
Mhm.
I've heard this music for years now because I have all the Star Trek music.
Nice.
So it was interesting being able to watch the movie and now have the context of the what's on screen to go with the music. So
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, usually you do it the
Speaking of the
opposite. It's like,
music,
oh,
yeah,
let's get the music and then think about the scene,
yeah,
and now you're like, oh, that's the music from this.
yeah,
there's a couple moments with there's a creepy Borg theme that you hear throughout. It's this like
yeah.
electronic, like haunting sound, and I love that. It's so effective.
It it's almost like the probe
Oh, V'ger, right?
from Star Trek 4 and yeah, and
Yeah.
V'ger. And it's a little bit of 2001 Space Odyssey.
Yeah, very
Like
otherworldly.
it's just
It's great.
yeah, yeah. I like that it's completely different from the horns and
Yeah.
those instruments that you're getting for the rest of the movie.
Yeah, it's like an evil theremin. I don't even know what instrument
Yeah,
it is for
yeah.
that.
But yeah, we do have baby Adam Scott saying that there's another ship approaching, and perfect timing. The Enterprise swoops in and kind of protects the Defiant, and then starts firing on the Borg cube. And again, we've got Picard's Borg sense is going off, and it tells him essentially where to direct all their fire. I like that Data questions it because I think Data is worried. Why is the captain telling us to all concentrate our fire on this one insignificant portion of the Borg cube? So I wonder if it's him, showing a little concern, like, is the captain being affected by the Borg and not engaging it, in the best way? Or then we learn that it's somehow, some reason, it's tactically, it's the best place to target. So
It's a small 2 meter wide
exhaust
thermal
port.
exhaust port just below the main port. Yeah.
Yes.
Then we're gonna get a backstory where one of the Borg put it in there
Yeah.
intentionally so that
Yeah, there's a prequel movie all about it.
Let's see.
It's probably Hugh.
Oh, Q.
Oh, yeah.
So then this basically destroys the Borg cube, and then it launches a Borg sphere, which I'm sure is still massive. I mean, it starts to flee and head towards Earth, and at this point, they've already beamed the surviving crew of the Defiant on board the Enterprise. So now we've got Worf, and they start to pursue the Borg sphere, which it just
Makes a
no
beeline
big
for Earth.
yeah, with no big explanation. It just like they come up with this like Star Trek science of, oh, it's creating a temporal vortex using chronometric particles, and
the tech.
yeah, they tech the tech, and
The technobabble in this is great, though.
it is.
They say it with such conviction, you know?
That's how you sell it. Yeah, that's how you make
Yeah.
it work.
Yeah,
You
that
just say
sounds
Absolutely.
right. Yeah, reverse that
Yeah.
polarity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Compensate
Well,
that Heisenberg.
Yeah.
Yes.
This is just jibber jabber.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, they go back in time. Yet again, Star
Yep.
Trek goes back in time, and I think they do a really good job of playing with time in Star Trek. So
Well, what I thought was fun. So this would always confuse me, and this is one of the taglines: "This is Planet Earth, population 9 billion, none human."
yeah,
So
Yeah.
I would always thought that they were in the midst of traveling back in time
Yeah.
with the Borg, and I'm like, how are they seeing it like real time?
right.
What happened, I figured it out this time. It's they were the Borg open up this time vortex and they go through, but
Mhm.
Mhm.
because the Enterprise is in pursuit, they're caught in its wake. They actually didn't go through the time portal yet, so they're
Right,
still in the 24th century, but they're protected
Yeah.
in this time vortex, and they can see now that Earth is completely Borg assimilated.
Yeah, no ocean, just
yeah,
yeah.
Yeah, it's like
Oh, and then there's-
brown and polluted
Yeah.
and nasty looking and just covered in Oh,
So I
Tacky,
always
yeah.
thought they were they were traveling through time and happened to see it. But what I realized is no, they're still, they haven't actually gone back in time yet. They're still there.
Yeah.
Borg already did what they did, so that's why they decided they have to go back and fix this.
Right.
So they followed them through the vortex before it closed.
yeah, they
Yeah.
didn't really have
I
much of a
missed-
choice. If they had left
Yeah.
the portal, they would have been what? Like
They
They'd have
taken out of the
disappeared.
timeline.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like yeah.
yeah,
They were
would
fine as long as
been-
they were in the wake of
Yeah.
this
Mhm.
time wake.
Yeah, the
know,
Federation
so yeah,
wouldn't
they
have existed.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, they had that was the only choice. It was
But
to go back.
I basically missed that as well the first time watching, and then the second time I was like, "Oh, okay, I get it." They see the Earth as it is, completely occupied by the Borg, and then, but because they are in the wake of this
Mhm.
this vortex, they still exist. So yeah, they only have the option of going through the portal, which is about to close. So they zip on through the portal and join the Borg in the, I guess, in the 21st century. So it's like, and they find the again, we then cut to Earth, and it's like this Earth camp, and it is far enough in the future that there are no cities. We'll find out later that all the major cities have been destroyed by World War III. But we kind
Yeah.
of zoom into this
Ominous.
Earth camp, and there we have James Cromwell, just I think in his fifth and final Star Trek appearance. Like, he had played several aliens and a couple humans in Next Gen, I think, mostly, maybe a couple in Deep Space Nine. So
Yeah, he was definitely a recurring
It's not his
character
final
through it.
one.
okay,
Yeah.
there's one more after
He-
this.
he
I think
does-
the one after this might be Deep Space Nine.
So Enterprise.
Oh,
At least the
Oh,
first
okay.
episode has a flashback with,
okay,
Oh, nice.
or like footage of him like doing a speech or whatever.
gotcha. Okay,
As the same
Nah.
character, of course, Zefram Cochrane.
sure.
I recall that they specifically wrote this character for him. They had him in mind.
Mm.
He's, because at the time, I mean, he's definitely another character actor that had been
Yeah.
in enough big things. And I think he goes on to be in even more things after this, but he had a kind of a bit of a run in this time.
Sure.
But
Mhm.
they knew him from the show a lot, and they said they specifically wanted him for this role.
Nice.
He's great. It's a different sort of performance that I'm used to from a James Cromwell. I'm just so used to seeing him as just very stuffy and uptight, and sometimes he's playing British, and sometimes sometimes he's playing a bad guy, but very intellectual, very can be very sinister. Or of course, you
Definitely.
have him as the kindly farmer in Babe or whatever. But
Have you ever
That's
seen that?
right,
I
yeah.
always think of him as like an evil cop, like
yeah, he plays Captain Stacy in Spider-Man 3, I think.
That's right. Yeah.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
right.
he does.
Yeah.
But yeah, in here he's just this, kind of dirty, whiskey swilling, drunk most of the time.
I like that this is the different take than Zefram Cochrane was in the original Star Trek series, and he was
Yeah.
like a younger
Yeah.
man. And I got on Memory Alpha just to find out, like, well, because I didn't rewatch that episode. I
Sure.
didn't feel the need
Sure.
to. But they were talking about, he was played by a 33-year-old. Cromwell's 56, and they said they tried to like make it headcanon, make it work on Memory Alpha that some alien gave him the rejuvenating thing, so he was younger later. It's
Oh.
like, oh no,
Sure.
just let it go. It's
Yeah.
okay. It's okay.
Yeah.
Cromwell was a good
They had
actor, and they wanted
cardboard
him in the
sets,
movie.
I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, just roll with it.
That's funny.
TOS, shake your head.
But I like the whole fact that comes up throughout the movie is like there's the futures or history's interpretation of what Zefram Cochrane
Yes.
was like.
Yeah.
And then there's the real man. And that's true. I mean, that's a very good observation. He's like, look, I'm just a
Mhm.
dude.
Yeah.
I want money. That's why I
Exactly.
did this stuff.
Yeah.
Yes.
But you actually kind of learn throughout other stuff that you're like, well, what idiot said that? And he's like, well, you did 10 years from now.
Yeah.
So that
Yep.
makes like
That's
he
fine.
became the man that they think of more or less, but for right now,
Yeah.
he's just he's just a drunk.
Yeah.
He wants money. Yeah.
Yeah, and so we find out that the Borg has come through, and they are attacking this camp. They start firing on this camp because we find out it's a missile. It's a former missile base in Montana, and this is starting to make things click for Picard. And he's like, "Wait, what's the exact date?" And then they realize, okay, this is they're attacking Zephyr Cochrane specifically the day before first contact is made. So
yeah, April 4th, 2063.
yeah,
because I'm that much of a nerd.
So then the Enterprise they destroy the Borg sphere pretty quick. So then there's really no we I guess there's no Borg presence here in the rest of this movie. They're destroyed.
Yeah, who knew this was all going to be about repairing a ship?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Patrick, are you with us now?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
I am back from the 1900s, as my daughter just said. Without internet.
Well, he went back in time too then, just like the Borg.
Without internet, it's basically the Stone Age. So
yeah. So yeah, we just got to basically the Enterprise is back in time, and they stop the attack on this encampment, and the idea of it kind of reminded me of like a Terminator plot, of sending someone back in time to stop something in human history. But that's not a Terminator only plot line. But it works here. So
oh yeah, it's
a solid plan by the Borg. Yeah, stop them from expanding. Humans are they even call it out because it's after World War III. There's very little resistance. There will be
sure.
Yeah, humanity, they lost I think he said 600 million people, Earth did.
Yeah.
So there's a low population. There's not really good organized factions in government at this point. Very little defenses. So yeah, and then stop the one ally that they would probably get in whoever they meet in first contact. And there you go.
Yeah.
Then now Earth is theirs.
I feel like this movie is really clever in a number of ways, but I love the fact that they went back in time, but it was still the future for us.
Yeah.
It's still at the time, especially when this came out, it was 70 years in the future for us, but it was, pretty far in the past for them. So I thought that was really clever. And this is kind of we get to see the origin of Star Trek,
Yeah, totally. I do like that they didn't go back in time. Oh, we just happen to be in the 1990s. That's usually what Star Trek will do. If they go back in time, it's usually around the time that the Oh yeah,
Come on, wouldn't you pay money to see Data or Picard say double dumbass on you?
Yeah.
I would. Yeah. Data trying to learn all about colorful metaphors and
yeah. We actually might get something like that on the new Picard season. We'll see.
Oh yeah, I think I saw something about that.
Some time travel shenanigans.
Yeah, although we have potential to be alive during 2063, so I am not wearing half the clothes that they wear at that time. So
lots of fur coats and weird hats. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the Enterprise they assemble an away team. Picard and who is it? Picard and Beverly and
Data.
Maybe Geordi.
Data's down there.
Yeah,
okay, that's right.
Sure.
Yeah, Data. They go and examine all the wreckage. They're looking for Zephyr Cochrane, making sure that he survived at least. And they have a run-in with what we didn't really mention, Alfre Woodard in this movie. And to me, she elevates anything that she's in. I'm a big fan of her. Another Marvel connection, ×2 actually, because she's in Civil War as kind of the catalyst that sets Tony Stark, on the path of hey, we should regulate things. And then she's also the villain in
Luke Cage.
Luke Cage, yeah. So.
Yeah, she's the one I was forgetting.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's great. Her character's awesome too. It's a different perspective. It's sort of like a outsider's perspective.
Mm-hmm.
For the people who hadn't been watching Star Trek, she was kind of the in,
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Although I will say, especially as the show goes on, I think she's a replacement for Guinan.
I don't know.
Yeah,
she's not
bit. She's got.
Well, I guess with the conversation she has with
because one of my favorite things about Star Trek the Next Generation is I
AI.
really love Picard's and Guinan's relationship,
Yeah, for sure.
and I definitely
Definitely.
she I mean, there's no need for a bartender on
Yeah.
in 10 forward on a battleship. They don't have
Yeah,
it. You know, so
On
they so
Enterprise E, yeah.
logically they cannot. They would have to really bend over backwards to get Whoopi Goldberg in here.
Yeah. But
So
you're right, the conversation she has with Picard later, I
yeah,
could see Guinan being the one basically knocking sense into Picard later. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, obviously
Yeah.
it's a completely different relationship,
Yeah.
but the the overall yeah, like you said, the overall conversation, the overall it's a replacement for Guinan because they just can't use her. Elfrey Woodard
Yeah.
is a good I mean, she's a good actress too. So but I think Whoopi Goldberg's great as Guinan.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Let's see. Then we've got Picard and Data have this human moment where they're examining the ship that Zephram Cochrane has built that he's planning to take out into space and do the first warp warp drive flight, which obviously leads
Mhm.
to first contact. And Picard and Data looking at this missile. It used to be a nuclear missile, but now it's they talk about how it's fitting that it used to be a form a symbol of destruction, and now it's going to be like the symbol of what does he
Like
say,
hope.
like hope. Yeah, it's basically gonna save humanity.
Yeah.
And Picard takes the time to explain the importance of physical, of touch, of feeling something, touching something physically, because Data is just
Mhm.
doesn't get why Picard is kind of revering
Sentimental.
this ship. Yeah, and
Yeah.
Picard explains that, well, it's just makes things more real. I really like that moment though.
Mhm.
Definitely. And I love how Data doesn't get it still. Like he's like, I'm detecting
Yeah.
imperfections on the
It's no more real to me than yeah.
Yeah. And then
He's not.
Deanna comes in as they're stroking the missile and she's like, do you three need a room?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was great.
See now that's they have a lot of funny lines in this movie. They is
Mhm.
as dark as it can be and as scary as they try to make it
Mhm.
be at times. There's definitely some humor there, and uh but the one note I had is throughout this is Marina Sirtis is like Deanna Troy is no longer Deanna Troy. She's just Marina Sirtis at this point. Like
Yeah.
she
Yeah.
like she's just I think that's just how she is in real life. So
Oh
there's a
yeah.
few times
Yeah.
where I'm like, oh yeah, she's just herself now, you know.
Yeah.
She's having fun, but I think it works.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I'm glad they
Well,
let
for this
her,
movie,
really
it definitely
off the
does.
leash. Yeah.
Yeah, like that Troy brings up the possibility of Cochrane's death, and that's why they can't find him. So, that makes things a little more, I guess urgent, But it made me like the second time watching this, I kind of wondered what would it be like if this movie was about like they have to fake the test, uh, if Zephram had died and they have to
Mm.
essentially carry out this make sure that first contact happens, even though he's already dead. And then of course the longer you think about that, the more it unravels. They would have to basically fake the rest of his life. But um,
you
I
leave Neil McDonough behind as the new Zephyr Cochrane,
yeah,
and
yeah,
like because we don't know him before this, and we don't know him after, and it becomes
yeah.
that time paradox where like you're your own grandfather, you know.
You degenerate. Yeah. Yeah, then Star Trek does an alien movie, and we've got back on the Enterprise. We've got some engineers, and they're poking around in Jeffrey's tubes and trying to figure out why the ship is getting so damn swampy. It's getting warm,
Yeah.
and
Humid and hot.
yeah,
It's like
but
Florida.
some good tense thriller type shots here. I think it works really well, and especially I mean it obviously I think harkens back to Alien.
Oh,
People
definitely.
people sneaking around in a spaceship looking for alien monsters. I think works pretty well here, and Star Trek has done that
Definitely.
in the past for sure. Next Gen did it. Deep Space Nine did it a bit.
Star Trek's always been really versatile with genres, because you got Star Trek
Yeah.
4, which is basically a comedy, and then you have this one, which is like almost a horror movie at times.
Yeah,
Like there's some really creepy imagery.
for sure.
Like that scene where they're walking through and like everything's Borgified. It feels like a
Yeah.
haunted house, like a really cool haunted house, like something you would see at like Halloween Horror Nights or something.
Yeah. Oh, there was something really cool where Picard, even while he's down on Earth, he gets this Borg sense. It starts to tingle, even though like he's not on the ship. Like he's sensing that the Borg have made their way onto the Enterprise somehow. So he and Data return to the ship. But like as soon as he does get that Borg sense starts to tingle, then that sets off Deanna Troy's Picard sense, because he starts to notice something's wrong, and then she notices that he is noticing something wrong. Her being an empath and being semi-telepathic, like it just makes total sense that she is attuned to his basically reading him. So I really like that.
Yeah, I think it's one of the better uses of her power, because a lot of times she's usually stating the obvious, but here it's like, okay, yeah, she's actually like clued in on what he's feeling.
Yeah,
I had no idea she had a power.
Yeah, so
women's intuition.
Yeah. So about this time we've got lights are starting to go off in the Enterprise, and things are starting to get a little scary. Beverly is like they're trying to revive Lily, the Alfre Woodard's character that they've taken back onto the Enterprise. They're trying to keep her sedated so that she doesn't obviously freak out on a because she's on a spaceship suddenly. But they also need to move her, because there's now a Borg presence on the ship. So, but they get separated, and so Lily starts to go her own way. Just a stranger in a spaceship all of a sudden. So that becomes fun later. But yeah, as Beverly is getting all of her medical crew out of this sick bay, they make use of like Bryon, I think you were alluding to the Voyager connection, and we see the holographic doctor pop up.
Yeah, the EMH.
And it's Roberto Picardo, or Robert Picardo from Voyager and from several other things. It has like a cameo, I guess, here. So
yeah, that was clever.
She swore she would never use one of those.
Yeah.
I thought that was great. That was
yeah. Well, you couldn't really use any of the other Voyager characters if you wanted to at this point, because they're in the Delta Quadrant. But this totally makes sense because the EMH program's like on all the new ships, and this is a new ship. So,
so in Voyager, is he a physical, real person, or is he always a hologram?
Oh yeah, he's a hologram.
Okay.
Although there is the creator, Zimmerman, I think his name is, who based it on himself.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Of course.
Like, yeah.
I think they do a little bit of a cheat here, because she's like, well, first off, I like the line, I swore I'd never use one of these. And then she activates him. But she's like, he's like, well, what's the nature of your medical emergency? Which is this, little catchphrase. And she says, well, there's like 20 Borg breaking down a door or whatever, however many. And, she's like, sing a song, do a dance, just delay him.
Yeah.
But at that point, we don't know. Like, she's just been in sickbay. Like, I don't think they all say were like, why is it so hot? And all of a sudden somebody's beating down the door. Like, how do they know it's Borg? Like, I caught that.
Yeah.
But so he's like, giving over some remedies of Borg implants causing skin irritations, and he can give him a nice cream for that. It's a pretty fun moment.
It's good.
Picard and his kind of team of mostly of security officers, I think they're getting all locked and loaded, and Picard tells his crew, like, don't hesitate to kill any of these Borg, even though they're probably going to be former crew members. And it's it reads a little strange, like knowing Picard was assimilated by the Borg and unborged himself. Like, I don't know.
it's a bit. It's all right for the movie. It makes sense
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
well, and actually, in with the conversation he has with Lily later, it also makes sense because she calls him out on it.
Yeah.
So they're not
Mhm.
dismissing it. Like, but on the show, like we already know Hugh and a whole bunch of Borg they got
Docile.
independence. Yeah,
Yeah.
they became independent
He
from the
assimilated,
Borg
I guess. Yeah.
collective. Yeah. I don't know if he knows about 7 of 9 yet because obviously that's happening
Sure.
far away. He'll learn about her later. But, you know, and then he
Yeah.
himself was able to be rescued. So it is a little bit like it's not a foregone conclusion that once you're Borg, it's like once you're a zombie forever.
Yeah.
So it is a
Yeah.
little bit odd, although, you know, you do have to take into account though, do they have that kind of time and resources to
That's what I
be
was
able
gonna
to?
say. Yeah.
Yeah.
With limited
Right.
time,
And the
it's not really an
longer-
option.
Right.
Yeah.
And also, you know, his mental state might be not the best, and he gets called out on that later.
Yeah.
So, I mean, so for the movie purposes, it's fine, but it is counter to what Picard in the show would have done. He would have probably tried to rescue as many crew members as possible.
Yeah.
But again, I mean, they're under a lot of pressure right now to fix history. They have no backup and they have no time, you know, and
Yeah.
half their ship is like essentially gone.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
now, I think this would have been a prime opportunity to introduce Space Marines to Star Trek.
Yeah.
I mean, they are
Yeah.
essentially a naval vessel,
make
you know,
us-
and then you can basically do aliens and alien, you know?
Right. Yeah.
I feel like this movie was a really great setup for a certain direction they could have taken with the series. And they didn't, for better or worse. Like the next movie is totally like complete, like just totally opposite of this.
Okay.
And I don't know if that was the right choice. That might be spoilers for you. Sorry, Travis.
It's been out long enough.
Yeah.
There is a nice cutaway. We go back to Earth, and Deanna is just drunk, and apparently she's had to drink Earth alcohol, which completely different than what she's used to, and actually gets you drunk. And she's done this so that she could, find out, more about Zephram Cochrane, and and then she reveals that she actually has met Zephram. And he's there, and
Yeah.
Will gets to meet him, and he's just the complete opposite of what they're expecting.
Yep.
But I just love Will and Deanna in this. It's a great little Will and Deanna
It's
scene.
an amazing scene. Yeah. She had 3 shots of something called tequila.
Yeah,
Oh, you're blended all right.
yeah. And
Yeah.
there are few things that make me smile more than when Jonathan Frakes' Will Riker, when he smiles, when he gets that big huge grin.
Yeah.
It just lights me up. It's just so great. Just because it's usually he does it when it's like he's reacting to something, like he finds something funny, and
It's
he has
genuine.
this huge, genuine,
Yeah.
I just love it.
I had a note that said Riker is putting on a clinic of facial reactions.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
like there's a lot of gifts that we could get from him.
Oh, yeah.
And it's
Especially later on in the flight,
Yeah.
sequence later. Yeah.
But his reactions to the shenanigans going on, especially Deanna, it's priceless. It's really
Yeah.
good.
We cut back to the Enterprise, and they're like, going through the corridors and stuff. And Brian, I definitely wanted to get your take on this because we have Picard and Data, and I really questioned their like weapons readiness because everyone that they're with, they're holding their weapons properly, they're prepared, but Picard's is like he's just kind of casually holding it. It's kind of pointing down. Data's holding his, and it's just pointing straight up. It just they stand out as like being the least ready in case
Pretty unprofessional.
something. Yeah,
You also don't think you'd have the captain take point either. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah,
No,
that's-
totally.
Like when you're going into like when you're on patrol or something like that, there's a couple different ways you would hold your rifle, and it's like if you're expecting immediate engagement with the enemy, pointing your rifle straight up or straight down is not the way.
Yeah.
Like, and they know they're about to, so they should be going in,
Yeah.
locked and loaded, for bear.
But they do know, Picard especially knows, if you don't attack the Borg, they won't perceive you as a threat.
That's true.
So,
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's not a bad way
I
to
do
go.
like
It
that
just
concept
looks.
too.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of scary because like they're so small to them, like they're insignificant to the Borg, but they're like a collective mind. I don't know. There's some cool
Yeah.
things going on here with this scene. It's like the whole ant colony mentality, I guess.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. There's a fight with the Borg. I didn't really have any major notes about it. Other than when we were watching, I was like, wouldn't Data be wouldn't they just be trying to get at Data at every turn? Like, it seems like he would be a prime target. Of course, they do take him
Well, and he is.
in this
Yeah.
firefight, but it never seemed like, especially in the series, it never seemed like the Borg were that interested in Data, and it seems like they would be, but
he was obsolete. He was
Yeah.
obsolete, and they in the series they call it out like, you are an antiquated piece of machinery. You are like, you'll be, because they didn't want to assimilate him in the series.
Yeah.
A little bit
Well, there's
different
that
goal
episode
and
with
different plan this time.
Lore? That was a weird one.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
Yeah. Well, that was like the breakaway Borg where Lore kind of like took
Yeah.
them in and
Took
gave
them
them a
back, yeah.
purpose. He became more or less a Borg queen.
Yeah.
Yeah, right, right.
Back before we knew what a Borg queen was, and I guess actually
Yeah.
before we
Back
know what
before
a
the
Borg queen
writers
is in this
knew.
movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, like in the series they called it out. Like, Data was not something they needed. He's not.
Mhm.
He's just, But now there's a different goal. Why
Yep.
he might be, why he might be a target. Now, the one thing during that battle, Data gets a gets a hand-to-hand combat, and he snaps the neck
Yeah.
of one of the Borgs. Well, that reminded me of I think it was the episode with Lore. He almost gets killed by a Borg, and he's like, stop it, and he's getting these emotions, and then he snaps the neck of it out of fear.
Yeah.
But then we learn later that he actually enjoyed the killing, like it gave him a thrill.
Yeah.
And he's like, what the hell's wrong with me? You find out later it was Lore who was feeding him like these emotions via like Bluetooth.
Yeah.
But Data's got his in fact, he's got his emotion chip now from the last movie, but now he's able to control it. He turns it off.
Yeah.
He's like, Picard even says, now
Man,
might
I
be a
wish
good
I could
time to
do
turn it
that.
off. Yeah, no kidding. It's
Yeah,
like,
he's like, yeah. He's like, I'm
Yeah.
experiencing anxiety. And then Picard's like, man, what does he say? He's like,
sometimes I envy you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we also get Picard murdering one of the crew members right then and
Yeah,
there. So
yeah.
first instance of that.
Yeah,
A little mercy
dark.
killing.
Yeah.
Sort
Yeah.
of, yeah.
Kind of makes
yeah.
sense within the context, but like you said, like, well, yeah, you can explain it away, but yeah, it's a little weird.
Yeah.
I never even thought of any of this stuff with Picard going nuts and killing crew members and doing that, because this is a zombie movie trope.
Sure.
It wasn't until I watched
it makes
Mr. Plink.
sense for the genre.
Yeah, exactly. But Mr. Plinkett called all this out in his review of
Oh yeah, the Red Letter Media. Yeah.
Yeah, and so then I'm like, oh, that's an excellent point. But I mean, honestly, I think we've already established that given the time, given the resources, they might have acted differently. They don't have that. Yeah, so
Right.
we can explain it away, no prize it for the movie. Yeah.
Do you think that the crew member who was calling out to the captain, do you think he was asking to be killed so that he didn't turn into a Borg and get assimilated? Or do you think he was like, please help me? Because I think he was saying, Captain, help me. But I don't know
I don't know if he was in the right frame of mind to even. Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know if he was expecting Picard to kill him, or
Right.
if he was expecting Picard to come and try and save him. So
I think he was asking for help. Come save me, Captain.
Okay.
I'm right here. You see me. Do something.
So the
And
last thing he
Picard's-
sees,
is his
Picard
But-
shoot him with a phaser.
Oh,
Yeah.
shit.
Okay.
But in Picard's state of mind, killing him was saving
Oh, sure.
him. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But that's not what the crewman thought. Crewman's like, Captain, you're right here. Come
Yeah.
pull me away before I become a zombie.
Yeah. We do get. We cut
Poor
to
Ensign
the.
Lynch. R.I.P.
Yeah. Yeah.
You
Or no,
didn't even
Lynch is
try.
later.
Yeah.
Maybe this is
Oh, is
also
it?
Lynch.
Okay.
I don't
Okay.
know. It could be Lynch. No, because this guy's dead. Never mind.
Yeah. This
Yeah.
guy's dead. Yep.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Okay, my bad.
Yeah. We get the engineering set, which they established earlier, with little Geordie walk and talk, and
That's
it's
a
this
great
big,
set.
massive space. Yeah, it's a big,
The warp
you know,
core.
really good set. Got the warp core. Yeah. So I like that they establish it earlier, so that now when we see it, all the like blue lighting is all green now. There's hoses and tubing and various like Borg, you know, set design type things. But when I see it and they've turned it into this Borg like hive, a lot of the lighting, it just feels like they went to Spencer's Gifts and like we'll get
Yes.
some like, you know, some stuff that has like little lightning, you know, kind of effect
Yeah, the
to it. And
staticky things that they put behind Data's head
yeah.
or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's the
exactly.
only thing
There's
for me that doesn't hold
Yeah.
up.
yeah.
Oh, now that's so funny you mentioned that because I had the same thought during Picard dream sequence when they showed him standing in front of it, and I literally was thinking about the lightning ball from Spencer's.
Yeah.
And but the thing is,
Stuff like that, yeah.
I watched it on my Blu-ray version, and I got to say, it looks amazing. There's only one scene at the end that doesn't hold up, and that's just because of the
Sure.
you could tell the green screen or blue screen at the time.
Yeah.
Other than that, even with that like silly kind of they just bought some tubes from Home Depot and then put some like lighting from Spencer. It looks great, and but yeah,
I will say, the Borg themselves look way scarier in this movie than they did on the series. Like they
put some
redesigned them
money
a little
behind
bit.
it. Yeah,
The green, like the makeup. Oh man, it's great.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And we get a little hint of the Borg Queen because Data wakes up. He's strapped down to the table, and we get some voice from the Borg Queen, but we don't see her yet. But we
she's
cut
great.
back. Oh yeah, yeah. Can't wait to get to her. The
I
the Riker and Deanna and I forget who else is with them. They decide like, okay, we need to explain everything to Zephram to get him up to speed and make sure he understands the importance of kind of why we need him. It's a great scene because this is where they use the telescope. Geordi uses the telescope to show him where the Enterprise is, I believe, and Zephram's taking it all in, and he it's a heavy scene, but he plays it really well. He just like looks at Riker and is like, "You're heroic, man," something like that.
Yeah.
Wait, so you're telling me you guys are some sort of you're astronauts on some sort of Star Trek?
Yeah, that's not the best.
I don't care. I loved it.
Yeah.
Hey, they said the
cheesy as
thing.
hell, I remember at the
Leo
time
pointing.
I loved that line. But,
Oh yeah, it made me chuckle.
Yeah.
I still laughed. I'm like, it's more meta now. Like back then it was like, oh, they said a thing and it's funny, right? And now it's like, all right, I see what you're doing there, but I still enjoyed it.
Yeah.
But yeah, that bit with the telescope I thought was great.
Yeah. Yeah, so this is about where Picard meets up with Lily, and the two of them are, he's trying to navigate around the ship, which she, is obviously resistant to that because she wants answers. She doesn't know what the hell is going on, and is keeping him at phaser point the entire time. But like he gets her into this area to try and explain things to her, and he has a great delivery of a line where he says, "You're on a ship, a spaceship," because it's like he understands how ridiculous that sounds to someone who has no real concept of what it's like to be on a spaceship. So
well, and there's that moment where with the window. Well, it's not a window; it's just a force field. But it's such a great moment. Yeah, where they're
they
looking
have a power
out
loss.
at Australia.
Yeah.
It's not even like transparent aluminum. It's just a force field.
Yeah.
I guess why can't you have both a force field and
right?
glass?
Right. You would
both.
think that like redundancies would be good there,
Because they lose power quite frequently on Star Trek, don't they? They're
Right.
always getting hit by
do.
stuff. Okay.
Yeah.
I wondered about that too.
I mean, their ship is having power problems and computer control problems right now. And you're opening this force field.
Because I'm picturing the ship is basically a croc, like the shoe, and there's a force field, and if that goes down, it's just holes everywhere.
What if Picard's plan B here was like if she, like maybe he's gonna have to have her sucked out the airlock here. You know,
Oh.
like maybe that's why there's
Speaking
no.
of aliens, yeah.
Yeah.
The kid's seen more movies.
I mean, he does kill a lot of crew members, so I could see him pulling
Yeah.
this. You know, like worst case scenario.
She is worried about Picard killing her too.
Yeah.
She has a right to be.
I really like these two together. And obviously they get some better stuff coming up, but
Oh, yeah.
yeah, they were kind of one of the bright, positive parts about this movie was Alfre Woodard and Patrick Stewart together. So,
Yeah, it's cool. Like I said, having that fish out of water perspective,
yeah,
from her.
totally.
That was great. And we also get that scene where he explains how the economics of the future are a little bit different.
Yeah.
And I love this because it's like kind of a callback to Star Trek 4, where like they don't use money in the future, supposedly, even though
Right.
there's a lot of stuff that contradicts that later on.
Oh yeah.
But
Deep Space Nine
I like
is
that concept,
full of that.
Yeah. And there's explanations
Yeah.
for it, like the Federation itself maybe doesn't use money like day to day, but there is an economy of sorts, of course. But I just like that though. It's post.
Well, like Picard's family's rich. Yeah. But like,
And that's one of the big
Picard's
plot holes
family's
with
rich
that.
because they have that. Yeah, they have that vineyard, and they actually
vineyard.
sells. I know.
Yeah, it's a little weird. I wish. Yeah, I don't know. You can't really fix it at this point. If you call attention to it, you're just gonna make it worse.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, he came across as a snob. He's like, we don't believe in such material
Yeah.
things.
Yeah.
Hold on, here's my collection of golden starships that I just
And
happen to have.
Yeah.
That's a good point, Patrick.
Well, and honestly too, that whole concept of no money was just only introduced just so that Picard could get a free. I mean, not Picard. Shatner could get a free Italian meal because he didn't. He didn't have any change. He says, "Oh, we don't actually have money in the future."
Yeah.
Yep.
Can we talk about the Borg Queen introduction?
You mean sexy
let's do
Borg?
it.
Ooh, sexy Borg. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Okay, let's talk about her.
Okay, I think I'm gonna step away again.
Yeah,
I think
it's
the
pretty
internet's going out. Sorry.
We suddenly losing Patrick again?
Yeah, that was the most unsettling sequence
Assimilate
of
this.
events with her and Data.
Well, I love when they introduce her.
Yeah.
You just get her voice again,
Mhm.
and then it cuts to like overhead, and she's being lowered onto her body. And I think it holds up really well. I thought this was really cool.
Yeah, cool design.
Yeah.
It's
It
cool,
is.
but grossed me out the entire time.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, totally.
I love that when the organic part of her, which is basically just her, not even torso, just
Head and shoulders.
Essentially
Just
just
above her. Yeah, it's
bust,
just above
really,
her
like-
breast. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
in
a
her head.
little bit
Yeah.
of shoulder. Yeah, it's not much. It
When
really
that
isn't
lowers, when that lowers onto the body, they do this cool little subtle thing where the body has these like claws that kind of like
Yeah.
dig into the flesh, and then throughout the rest of the movie, when you see her like part of the makeup and prosthetics and stuff, that looks like that skin is being like ripped into just to hold her into this harness or whatever. It's really cool design. It's completely new, and because most of the Borg stuff we've had up till now is just a bunch of bald dudes wearing things over their eyes and big clunky suits. So
Yeah,
this is really effective.
definitely. And the tubes, and like her head, like she's got all these plugs in the back of her head. It's nuts looking. It's great.
But then I had this, like, I was watching it through, I bought all the Star Trek movies a couple years ago through iTunes. So they're high quality and everything. And under her skin, on her like forehead, you can see little LED lights blinking on and off, and kind of like Data's do, but you can actually see hers under the
Through the
skin,
skin
which
or
is just
whatever.
a cool
That's
effect.
that's eerie.
Yeah. And I love the way this is Alice Krieg. I know her face, but I don't really know her from much of anything. But I love the way she plays this character. It's completely different from any Borg. She's not the cold and robotic, and she actually has, personality that comes through, and she's really cool as this character.
Yeah. This movie brings up a lot of questions though, like especially when you go back and rewatch the TNG episodes, and then if you watch some of the Voyager stuff, like I don't know if this is a spoiler, but there's multiple Borg queens basically.
Okay.
As Voyager establishes, and I don't know if they ever fully explained how that works and how many there are, and how like, are they clones of the same one or what?
That's
is it
actually a
time
neat
travel? Like,
concept.
yeah.
Yeah, because if you notice, like throughout the show, they destroy the one Borg cube, but then there's another. Even they call it out in this movie. We destroyed that
Yeah.
Borg cube, but I heard you there, and she's like, "Well, you." This, I mean, it's a later conversation.
Oh, that's
but,
right.
So
Yeah.
I like that they kind of went back on that and kind of explained, like, this is, it's a collective, but it started out like you have to have like a one, like it's a hive mind, but well, usually there's somebody in charge of the hive,
Yeah.
And I do
true.
like some of the introductions that they do in this movie, as far as like concepts that they introduce. And at first, I didn't
the
like
good
it.
kind of retconning.
I think it's kind of neat though that they have somebody kind of like, well, somebody's got to control these drones. They're drones.
Yeah.
Although, and I like the concept of now, I guess I didn't realize that there's multiple Borg queens, but that makes more sense because again, there are different ships, there are different factions at this point of Borg. And also, they, like, there's different ant colonies, there's not one giant ant for every species of ant, so that's kind of what they're going with. So I can go with that. I think she's
even,
just the one they've been dealing with.
I think even in like ant and bee colonies, like in the absence of a queen, one will become a queen. So
yep. Yeah, that's true.
Okay.
Yeah, I like it.
I thought this was like one of those scenarios where there's a bunch of clones of the queen and they all think they're the original.
Could be, yeah.
Because she calls herself like the beginning
and
and the or something like that. Like, so she thinks she's the
Alpha
end
and
all be
Omega or
all.
whatever. Yeah.
Well, and even if she's not physically the original, if some of that data and information is in her brain, why couldn't she just be the original? So regardless of the physical presence. So
because they have all the information from everything they've assimilated, plus every Borg all at once are in each other's head. Like they call that out in the show, like, oh, it's so quiet when they're disconnected from the hive.
So there's backup drives, and, redundancies.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, because she even calls it out. She's like, well, you think so thredimensional and not like there's more to it than that. Yeah.
So the real queen's on a
and there's that
drive
moment
somewhere.
towards the end.
Yeah.
Well, there's that moment towards the end where you see like even like the inside of her head is mechanical. So I feel like there's no way she's the original, right? Like,
right.
Because her brain is cybernetic. I don't know. It was weird. They never fully explained that. It's kind of a mystery.
We get a great scene with her and Data just playing off of each other, and they do this really cool bit where she gives him feeling,
Oh,
they
she gives him, I mean, you can edit this out because this is Real Comic Heroes After Dark, but she gives him a blowjob. He even says, "Was it good for you? Was it good for you?"
That sequence when he first feels that sensation of her blowing air over the little hairs because they've given him like real flesh with hairs on it, and so he experiences that feeling for the very first time.
Yeah,
it was pretty cool, like because it it surprised him, and that was a cool seeing Data like suddenly he didn't know that would make him feel it's a pretty innocent thing of like giving someone's goosebumps on their arm, like, but to him like that was a huge moment. So
I like that the TNG movies really do develop Data's character quite a bit, like even more so than the show does. The show does some really great things with him, but the movies really go for it.
What were you gonna say, Patrick?
Oh no, this portion, as I guess unsettling as it was probably my favorite part of acting from Data.
Oh, okay.
Just the fact that he was so overwhelmed, even though it was, a little too well acted. I thought it was the most convincing piece of his play at being human.
Yeah.
And really dug that whole sequence, even though I did have to worry about my daughter walking in and me having to It took me back to being
Yeah,
a teenager trying to watch Skinamax. I was like
Yeah.
getting ready to change the channel, just watching C-SPAN.
yeah. Well, and she even asks, the Borg Queen asks, like, is he fully functional? I think.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Ooh, yeah.
And he actually calls back to that time with Tasha
I know.
Yar. He's like 8 years ago.
That was
It's
great.
like back
Yeah.
at season
Yeah,
one.
that was my note. I'm like, is
episode
this Tasha Yar? Because
3?
that would be
Yeah.
about the right
Okay.
time, right? Yeah.
Absolutely.
I
Yeah.
assumed that was a callback I just didn't know about because it was very
Yeah,
specific.
I think the first
Yeah.
season, it's like 3 or 4 episodes in,
Yeah.
and suddenly everyone on the ship gets real horny.
Yeah.
Tequila.
Horniest episode of Star Trek.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, you guys should listen to the Too Young for This Trek episode about that. It's ridiculous.
okay.
I'm fully functional.
Then we get the Picard and Lily. They're like weaving through the hallway and avoiding the Borg, and he never explains to her like, hey, if we just don't attack them, they won't attack us. But so she's terrified, but he never says like, it's fine. We just have to like keep our heads down and walk through this hallway. We'll be fine. But then leads them to the holodeck, and I really like that they included the Patrick in Next Gen. This like long goodbye noir detective storyline is something that Picard would go and do for recreation.
Dixon
Like he
Hill,
would play, he'd play this character of Dixon Hill, and it was just cool to see it show up in a movie.
Okay. I figured it was some
Oh,
kind of
yeah.
fan service because it made absolutely no sense what the hell was going
Well,
on.
it doesn't make any sense because essentially all he needs is a gun. He
Yeah.
doesn't need to go through the trouble
No.
of dancing and meeting up with
Yeah.
Nikki the Nose.
Yeah.
All that stuff is
Yeah,
just
we could have
fan
gotten
service.
Yeah.
the grid squares, that of the holodeck, and he could have just replicated a gun and turned off the safety.
Right.
You know, like that's all he had to do.
That was my question. I was like, I don't understand why we have to go through all this.
I'll give
Yeah,
him
he
a
could've
gimme
just-
on this one that they were trying to blend in with the
yeah.
with the crowd. No
And
prize.
to maybe confuse the
Yeah.
Borg a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
we
Yeah,
also
'cause
get a
I was like-
cameo from the guy who plays Neelix, I think. That's that voice.
Oh,
sounded really
yeah.
familiar.
Are
That
you
is
talking
him,
about
right?
Nikki the?
The
Maybe.
concierge.
No, the guy that
Oh,
the guy that they first meet when
Okay.
they walk in. Yeah.
okay.
You know what? I recognize his face, I recognize his voice, and I'm like, that's the guy from Benson. Like that's what I knew him from, but I'm like, I forgot that he was Neelix in Voyager.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know the guy that plays Nikki the Nose is Bob the neighbor
Yeah.
in that '70s show. So
What?
Yes, it
Oh,
is.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. I didn't realize that. That's
I mean,
great.
he's a character actor going back, '70s, '80s. So
Yeah.
I
he's in a
think he
lot.
was even on an episode or two of Star Trek. But
Well, Red from that
Um,
70s show is on Voyager.
yeah, but this movie does this setup, as maybe silly as it is, does give us Picard firing a Tommy gun, which is awesome. So
Yeah.
He goes full Rambo.
Yeah.
On him,
yeah, he
you know,
does.
even yelling and everything. Ah!
Yeah.
He starts like beating him with the gun after he's
He
already
really
dead.
hates these cans. Then back on Earth, we get Geordi and Reg. I love that Reg gets a cameo here. Dwight Schultz
Yes.
as Reg Barkley. Love that
The
he's
most
in this for
awkward scene too.
Yeah, as I said, awkward as ever. Barkley,
Yeah.
awkward as ever
Yes.
was my
Yeah.
note, and it's perfect because that's his
Yeah.
character.
Is that the fanboy?
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah,
Oh,
Dwight
yeah,
Schultz.
yeah.
He was in A-Team. Yeah, Howlin' Mad Murdoch.
He's got like a handful of good episodes in TNG, but he's one of those
Yeah.
characters that's like not on every episode. Like he'll show up occasionally. He's like a background
Yeah.
character.
Jordy keeps giving Zephram like all this information about his future, and it's like, Jordy, haven't you seen Back to the Future? Like, no one should know
Any time
too
travel
much about their
movies,
own
like-
destiny.
Yeah, that's I said. Screw the Prime Directive. Like they're totally interfering. I understand it's
Yeah.
Earth, so it's not the same concept, but yeah,
Yeah.
it is. It is time travel, and he's like, "You told him about the statue."
Yeah, I love that line. And you get Picard and like Picard and Lily have teamed up with the rest of the crew, and I really like that Lily sees Worf, and he's just instantly like, I'm a Klingon. Just move past it.
Because that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I like the whole bit of like reports of my assimilation have been greatly exaggerated,
Yeah.
which is
Yeah.
a Mark Twain, Samuel Clemens line, or a misquote, I guess.
Yeah. No, that was cool. Then they go on a little spacewalk, and because they find out that the Borg are trying to do something with the dish, the main kind of deflector dish on the Enterprise. So they've got to go. Best way to get there is to go outside, and I really like this setup for this
It's
like
so good.
spacewalk thing.
We hadn't really seen anything quite like this in Star Trek prior to this. And
I mean,
think
in the
it's
motion
great.
picture, they do
A
some
little
extra
bit, yeah.
vehicular stuff, but not like walking around on a ship.
The closest I could think of is when on Undiscovered Country they turned the gravity
that's
field
right.
off,
Yeah.
and then those guys came in with the magnetic
cool.
boots and all that. It reminded me a little bit of that, like the concept, but
Yeah.
going out into space on the hull, yeah, no, that hasn't happened.
Oh, and the fact that they were standing, well, there's no up or down in space, obviously, but
Yeah.
like the way they were on like the bottom half of it, like
Yeah, I
the
thought
way
that
that
was
the
cool.
camera inverted, that was really clever because it like gave you
Yeah.
like this like kind of sense of like, whoa, like
Yeah.
Yeah, don't look at the stars, look at the hull.
Yeah.
yeah.
But yeah,
as tough as Worf is, he's queasy.
Yeah, I remember seeing this in theaters, and just the way they shot that like was really effective. Like it felt like you were exposed to space. Yeah.
Yeah. I had questions on the spacewalk.
Okay.
And, so Worf puts down his gun at one point.
Because
Is
the
that
Borg
magnetic?
adapt so no, he just lets it go, it just floats away.
Well, no, he puts it
Floats
down
off.
at one point and gets it
Oh.
back. So I was like,
Oh.
at first I thought there was like a magnetic field around them or something. Like I
Oh.
wasn't sure what was going on with gravity and the lack thereof.
Yeah.
That's a good point. Yeah.
Their boots are definitely keeping them on the
Yeah,
ship.
it looked like it was
but,
just the boots, but I was confused as to how like the gun wasn't just
Yeah, the
flying
gun's-
away.
yeah.
And then
Yeah,
I
they
know-
should've been
I know
tethered
he-
to them or something.
Yeah. I know at one point when he realizes the guns are now
Yeah,
useless
he
because the
chucks it.
Borg adapt so quickly, he just lets go of the gun and it kind of floats away.
Mhm.
But I think if you set the gun down, as long as there's no momentum to carry it or move it, it would stay,
Stay away. Okay.
it wouldn't just float away unless there was something to propel it.
And
Yeah.
I am uninitiated with the ways of the Borg, but
Okay.
they seem like the dumbest things I've ever met. Like, how did they not know
Yeah.
Picard is a threat with or without a weapon? And
Yeah.
in turn, they figure out these three guys are unlocking it. Like,
Yeah. I like each time they unlock one of the
they're just like, oh,
magnets
I
or
better
whatever,
do
one of the
something.
Borg kind of looks
Yeah.
at him, side eyes him.
I don't know. I thought the Borg were a collective, so I thought they'd be more coordinated, but they all seem to be on their own frequency of what's going on.
Yeah. The Borg don't have like a post office with a poster section that says most wanted, and a picture of Picard. That's what they really need.
I
If you
thought
see
they
this
would
man,
have
Yeah.
like,
Have you seen Locutus?
yeah.
yeah. Oh God, I don't even want to know. But I thought especially since he was one of them, that there'd be some kind of shared knowledge. I don't know. I thought
Yeah,
they'd
there should be.
smarter than they were. Like they definitely seemed more zombie than robot.
They're drones. I think they're just on a single-minded task, and they're
Right.
only
Yeah.
they're
Right.
focused on the task at hand. That's the most important. But when they sense a slight threat, they decide to go, one. But the other guys they're going to keep working because that's the ultimate goal, I guess. I mean, that's what we kind of.
Yeah, I think it's the hive mind thing. I thought they
Yeah.
were smarter, but they are more zombie than like robot to me.
Yeah.
Like they just seem really inept and stupid. Like they're just fodder. Like I don't know.
Pretty much, yeah.
It was aggravating watching it as in turn they each figure out one of them's at a locking mechanism. And I'm like, what's going on here? So that was just a pet peeve during that whole sequence. I was just aggravated at the stupidity.
Yeah. It definitely is kind of there just to ramp up the tension,
Yeah.
make it seem more tense. Yeah.
They're basically cybernetic zombies, but that is a good
Yeah.
point. Like, you would think, considering the situation, the Borg Queen herself would be very attuned to what was going on with that dish, right?
Right.
Like, so she'd be
Yeah.
like, get those guys. Like, they're trying
Yeah.
to, you know.
Well,
but
you know,
I
they're
guess she was
getting
distracted
busy.
by Data.
Yeah.
She's having sexy
Yeah.
time with Data right now. So
I mean,
Yeah.
he's,
I guess this is when the skin thing is happening.
yeah,
That's
he's
right.
fully
Yeah.
operational. So.
Oh, yeah.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
they kissed and then it cuts away. So
Mhm.
you can
Yeah.
only imagine what was going on after that.
What was the point of them? What were they doing to
Smooth
this
and
dish?
upload.
How did this connect to their plan? Or
They were doing a
so-
subspace like not probe, but like communication with the Borg of this time. Yeah.
right?
So they
Okay.
needed to
Way off
boost
in
it
the
to be
Delta
able to
Quadrant.
reach. Yeah, they're in the Delta Quadrant. So
Yeah.
they're
Okay.
basically like, hey, come. It's like a buoy. Come to Earth.
Yeah.
You know, because I think at this
Yeah,
time the
let's-
Borg
let's
isn't
lick
really
this
aware
planet
of
while they're-
Earth. Yeah,
Okay.
we're
Yeah.
here. We need help. Come get us.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's
because at
right.
this point, I don't think the Borg have even gone to the Alpha Quadrant,
Sure.
supposedly. You know.
Yeah.
Well, we're still primitive to the rest of the universe, right? Until the warp
Right.
drive. So,
Correct. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I mean, we still
Well,
got
this is right after World War III,
jukeboxes.
so you know.
Yeah.
Earth's pretty
Earth is-
decimated. No defense.
and we find out that old Zephram, he's not in this for the betterment of mankind. He just wants to live on an island and party with naked ladies. Oh man.
Yeah.
can't really blame him.
Which I don't
But,
understand that either. Like,
Yeah.
who's paying him?
Yeah.
Like, they all wear like rags and listen to a jukebox that happened to survive
Yeah.
to this.
I mean, they
point.
do
That-
have some sort of society. It's just underground. So I mean, because they were talking about factions and stuff.
Yeah,
So there's
yeah.
definitely something still, and obviously they rebuild. But he's gonna cash out, I guess.
Yeah.
Because when he does shoot,
I love that. That's his
rocket
plan
off,
is to sell out as soon as
Yeah.
you know. Can't blame him. But I guess he's still thinking like, I don't know, like someone from our time would think, like, you know,
Right.
like he doesn't know what's in store for the future. So
Yeah, it
Right,
doesn't
right.
seem like it matches with this world that he's living in. Yeah.
yeah, he hasn't quite come to terms with the fact that everything's decimated and there's no
Yeah.
governments and whatever.
I think they make it too apocalyptic because everyone else looks like they're cave people in comparison to this warp drive ship that's just been built.
Yeah.
Like, it's like the
Yeah.
Old West, pretty much.
I kind of wish we did get to see
Right.
more of this world.
Yeah.
Like you hear about the devastation, but you don't really see it. You know,
That is one point, like one note that I made. This movie, it's very small. Like we
Yeah.
definitely they make
Mhm.
use of the Enterprise and all the various Enterprise sets, and
Yes.
then there's this camp, and that's it.
Yeah,
That's
it's in the
entire
woods.
movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, it
In
is a
Montana.
very small movie.
Yeah, I think
So,
that was the
in
problem.
terms
It was
of-
just
yeah.
so small that it made it seem improbable that somebody could create a warp drive in this little
Yeah,
community
yeah.
of random hobos.
yeah. Because what she says something about like taking 4 years or something to scrap together enough titanium
Yeah.
for the cockpit. So Worf and Picard have this disagreement because it's essentially it comes down to the plan should be to evacuate all the crew and destroy the Enterprise, and Worf and Picard really are button heads at this, and I kind of felt like the argument was a little flimsy, but the two characters are acting the hell out of it, so it totally works as
Yeah.
a scene. But and then obviously we'll get it. It'll lead to an even better scene of Lily really just taking it to Picard once they're just one-on-one, and we realize it's not about like basically Picard just needs to get his head out of his ass and
Yeah, I just wrote Picard loses his mind. I don't know.
Yeah, he's fully unhinged at
Yeah.
this point.
yeah
Yeah. And
It's a great
yeah.
character moment, though.
yeah
it is.
Like
I
this
mean,
is
you can
his
just see
character
how
flaw, you know.
Right, yeah, he's flawed. He's not the perfect captain in this movie. He's a human being
Yeah.
who's, under pressure.
it really made me think about it's the first time I can think of where Picard is most like Shatner, most like Kirk, in that
yeah,
when he finds out that the Klingons are dying in Star Trek 6, or yeah.
Yeah,
Let them
let them
Um,
die.
And he's
Yeah.
like, yeah, let them die. They killed
Yeah.
my son.
Right.
They deserve to die.
Right.
And a little bit of
cruel bastards.
in Star Trek 5 when he's explaining like he needs his pain, I felt like that was a little bit kind of what was going on here with Picard. So it's a different side of Picard that you don't get this side of him much in Next Gen.
Nope.
But I
I
like
think it
that he
works
was just.
though.
It does, yeah.
And I like you said, it sets up the scene with Lily, which is appropriate because the crew can't argue with him the way she can.
Right.
She's a civilian. She's not even from that time. All she knows is he's a crazy person at this point, and he's being unrealistic, and he's basically, going after his white whale.
Yeah. I think the scene has like just a beautiful kind of wrap up when he breaks the glass, he knocks down some of these ships, and she responds to him as if he's a child, like, oh, you broke your little ships. I kind of wish she said you broke your little toys, just to emphasize that this display of ships is just, they're just toys.
Yeah.
But I read the moment really, really works, and it kind of wakes him up to realize, the important part is the crew and getting people off of the ship. The ship itself is not important. We need to self-destruct the ship and get everyone off of here. So
You're gonna end up killing everybody in your quest for vengeance, basically. So do the right thing. Yeah. And he comes to a sense. He becomes TNG Picard, not movie Picard.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
I liked the representation that she portrayed as a, I guess, internet comment poster where she shot out this white whale thing, and then she actually hadn't read the book.
Yeah, that's good.
That's good. That's a good call out. Yeah,
it's like, yeah, well, I just had the gist,
but it was
but
what
I didn't
he
actually
needed
read
to
it.
hear.
Yeah. I mean, it worked out, but she had. I like that she was just blowing smoke, like.
Yeah.
She read the Cliff's notes, like, but not the whole thing.
I also like that this argument totally works, and he realizes, okay, we need to evacuate, and he tells the crew evacuate, and we'll set the ship for auto destruct. And I like that the crew has no idea what she said to change his mind. So I almost wish there was a moment with her, like where Beverly would come up to Lily and say, like, what did you say to him? But there's no time for that, I guess. But
this was a cool moment too, because like they're all evacuating. Their plan is to just live on Earth and try to avoid history. Like that was huge. Like there's no plan B,
Right.
Well, there's no way to get back at this point. They're just going to go to Gravetta Island.
Yeah. Was that a reference to something? I didn't really get what that was.
I don't know, but I used to listen to a podcast called Transporter Room 3, and they would always end the show with "See you on Gravetta Island," and I just think it's I never knew of a reference other than this movie.
Okay.
Yeah.
So maybe it is just a fallback position, like where they will go and hide out, basically. But I didn't know if that was I could see that being like a
thing.
Yeah, maybe. I didn't know if it was like a Shakespeare thing. Like maybe that's a line from. It's weird because then you've got the stuff on Earth, which there's a little bit of Zephram. He goes, he kind of runs away. They get him back, and then they're doing the launch, but it just seems like it's happening so fast, and it's like until this point, I kept expecting there to have been some kind of Borg presence to try and stop them. I mean, ultimately, we'll find out that their plan is to stop them once they're in space.
Yeah.
I guess
they've got the ship is starting to launch, and then Zephram's starting to freak out, and he's got to have his Magic Carpet Ride song playing.
That's great.
Yeah.
I like his little disc.
Yeah.
I like how Riker's like, we need to abort. He's like, no, I got it. Yeah, that's funny.
So are we to assume, and maybe I missed it, that his previous co-pilots died in the attack?
Well, Lily was going to be up there with him.
Okay.
There may have been a third. I don't know.
Yeah, that sucks for her.
She doesn't get to go on this historic flight in this timeline now.
Right.
Huh.
Yeah.
There goes her statue.
Yeah. But we do get some
Right.
great Riker and Geordi moments while they're riding, in behind Zephram, and
Yep.
at one point, during this whole flight sequence, Zephram says engage, and Geordi and Riker just look at each other and smile.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
it's like, oh, just a perfect like, oh, he said it
That's
too.
how it started.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He did the thing.
I like that
Yeah.
they're geeking out. Yeah.
Yeah.
The characters.
That would annoy the
themselves,
crap out of me if I was him, though.
Oh, it does.
I
Yeah.
mean,
Right?
Yeah.
Like every fucking
Don't
thing you say, they're like, "Oh my god, you said the thing." It's like, shut
Yeah.
up.
Yeah. Don't you people pee in the future?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't want to
Yeah.
be a statue. I like that he says, I don't want to be a statue, as if he thinks like he's going to physically be
They're
like
gonna encase
frozen
him
in carbonite.
Yeah.
I mean, to him, this is all scary and new, and they're like geeking out in the back, like having a good old time. Meanwhile, he's like
Yeah.
basically crapping himself because they're going.
Yeah.
Although they
Because
do get a
he's
little
confronted with
concerned
his
when
mortality.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that too.
That would
but they
freak
get
anyone
concerned
out.
when they see the red line and he's like tapping it and he's like, oh, don't worry about it, ignore it. And they're like,
Yeah.
okay. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh,
And then like cutting back to the Enterprise, you get so wrapped up in this movie that you realize that Picard only meets and interacts and finds out about the Borg Queen right here at the end. Like the crew has evacuated.
Oh yeah.
And then he gets his Borg sense starts to tingle, and he's like, "Oh, Data's still alive." And it's like, "Oh yeah, you guys never went to look for Data. He got captured, and that was that."
Yeah. I feel like that would be a big deal. Like
Yeah.
a big
So,
asset for
yeah,
them,
Yeah. This sequence here with Picard and the Borg Queen, it's definitely one of my favorite moments in the movie. Just this whole sequence. I didn't really write any notes down just because I was just watching it. It's just a fantastic, almost a one-on-one sequence, and then like she reveals, "Oh, Data's here,"
so I got confused here.
Emo Data.
Yeah.
Yeah, emo Data.
Emo Data. Yeah.
What? Confused about what, Patrick?
I wasn't sure what the plan was. So he was
So
just
the
going to give
plan-
himself up, or did he know
He was
Data
gonna-
was double agent? I couldn't tell what he was like. Assuming it went as it played out and Data got away, he was just going to be her concubine, I guess.
he was going to die. He was delaying enough, knowing that the ship was going to blow up, thinking she doesn't know it's going to blow up. So he's
Yeah.
like surrendering to her. Yep, I'll be your
right.
locutus. I'll be your companion. Let Data go. Data's going to leave, and then they all die.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's the plan.
That's what screwed me up because I thought she would have heard the 15-minute announcement. So that's what
Well,
screwed me up.
Yeah. Should have. Yeah.
I know they weren't
Yeah.
counting down, but I thought she would have
Right.
heard that piece.
Well, they're plugged into the well, you know what? The one thing that is, I mean, you would think they would hear it, but maybe that was just isolated to the bridge.
Yeah.
Data put those encryption keys in there,
Mhm.
so she wouldn't be able. That's why she's not able to get into the computer and know that countdown is going
Okay.
on.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
thought the
So-
announcement was
Yeah, that's
ship wide. That's where I got confused.
Oh.
You would think,
Because it's a
Yeah,
self-destruct.
you would be
There's
completely
like
justified in
numbers
thinking
just-
that.
yeah.
Because I wrote
I mean-
that down. I'm like, why did they want to silence the countdown if they just announced it's 15 minutes?
Yeah.
So-
It's not a flawless script.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
It
that's where I
makes
got.
sense.
Yeah, that's where I got screwed up.
It
then.
makes
Okay.
sense exactly the way it plays out in the movie.
Yeah.
But no,
Yeah.
if you did have a ship-wide like evacuation announcement, you'd let the whole ship know.
Right.
Yeah, I think that's
Uh,
where I got screwed up. I thought she heard that.
Yeah.
So if she did, then okay, that makes a little bit more sense that it was just a delay tactic. Okay.
But that's kind of like where we get some addition to the mythology of like to me it was always like, why if they just assimilate in everybody, why was Picard locutus and actually have a name? He had an individual
Yeah.
personality within the Borg, even back in the show, and they always
Yep.
dismissed it as he was going to be the liaison, the voice of humanity for the Borg, so they can assimilate them better. But what we learned here is it was really the Queen wanted a companion, not just another drone,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
Picard fit that bill. And then, of course, what we're going to learn now is that he's no longer wanted as that. She's got somebody better.
hmm
Yeah.
because he's fully functional.
Yeah.
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 Well, he knows a
And-
couple
and-
of positions, he said, so
Yeah.
I mean,
So my question was like, if Picard had left the ship, would Data have flipped and misfired when they go to shoot down the Zephram's shuttle?
I assumed because Picard didn't really do anything that I could tell anyway.
I couldn't tell if Picard had convinced Data with everything that he was saying to the Borg Queen was. I mean, Data will say like, yeah, there was a part of me that wanted to side with her.
Yeah, like 0.68
But-
seconds or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. Point
But I
he was
didn't know-
yeah,
An eternity
he was
for
tempted by the
android.
Oh, right. Sorry. You're right though. I think he was tempted by what she was offering, but I don't think he was ever on her side. He was always playing
Okay.
the long con. So
Okay.
Picard, because Data would often do his own thing in the show. Sometimes he would be completely corrupted by like when Lore did that to him. He was doing Lore's bidding,
Yeah.
but other times he would just like,
Yeah.
I have a programming. I'm doing what's best for the crew. I'm just not going to explain it.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what he was
That's
doing
true.
here. And he would ramp up the tension by being like, "Oh no, he's not listening to Picard. He's definitely on the dark side now.
He's going rogue. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, the
no,
way he
was
says
always
no.
yeah. He would make an excellent
It's all
drone.
defiant.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I like that line a lot. Make an excellent drone.
Yeah.
Burn.
Oh, Data's awesome in this whole sequence.
Yeah.
You know, resistance is futile.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just great. Data.
Yeah, I think Data had it covered. Picard was I guess he distracted her at least, like kept her occupied. I don't know if she would have figured it out if she was paying more attention to Data since they're
Yeah.
connected in a way. But yeah,
And then it's a Data, he allows the ship to survive, and then instantly he busts open like the plasma coolant something or other that they did establish earlier on.
yeah.
Their plan was to go to engineering, destroy this kind of tank, and the coolant would destroy anything organic. So I guess that's what he busts open, and it really just I like this sequence of like Picard's trying to get to higher
yeah.
ground, she's trying to stop him. Data just gets swept up in the coolant stuff, and it eats away at the recent organic additions to him.
Skin graft.
Yeah.
That makeup effect, by the way, was great.
Yeah.
Like, everything
Yeah,
with Data in
yeah.
this movie was awesome.
They look cool.
And I love how it looks like grafted on skin, but it's just his face.
Yeah.
yeah.
They did.
And
good job with
then the positronic, underskin
Yeah.
or whatever that when the skin goes away and he pops up and pulls her down.
Yeah.
That's
kind of
pretty cool looking,
Terminator-esque.
too.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I dug
I
it.
love this ending for the Borg Queen when she gets, brought down into this coolant or whatever, and she just instantly it just starts eating away at her. It's a really cool
Yeah.
She's all
villain death.
disintegrating.
Yeah.
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 It's awesome.
Melting. Yeah.
Very wicked witch.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm
Picard's
melting, I'm melting.
Picard's getting like his action moment. He's swinging around on vines and
He reminded me
Yeah,
of Luke
that's right.
Skywalker in the
Oh, yeah.
Bespin fight. He's up
Yeah.
in the, most impressive.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
my copy kind of ended here. It would something was wrong with it, and suddenly it was the gun show because Picard is fit in
Oh.
this.
Yeah.
He's got he is got this tank top on, and his arms are
Yeah.
like
I told you he was Rambo.
yeah, like it's
Yeah.
it turned into the gun show real quick.
Just wait till you watch the next one.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
Okay, get more action Picard in that one.
okay, I'm ready.
Yeah, I thought Picard was trying. I thought he had to escape that room because I didn't realize I thought the gas was gonna rise up.
Oh
I didn't realize it was, I guess, heavier than air or whatever.
right,
It's just convenient that the drain
Yeah,
button was up high where he
I
was, so he
know.
could hit it.
It's a good point.
yeah,
Yeah. I thought he was trying to get out of the room. I didn't realize it was like stuck down low.
Yeah.
Or could the queen have just stood up and done okay? I couldn't tell how deep that was.
yeah. I don't know.
I think
Maybe.
when she was pulled down by Data, though, it was too
Yeah.
late. Like
Yeah.
once she touched it, it was
Yeah.
done. It was
Yeah.
like acid, you know.
Yeah.
She should have got that cool
Exactly.
crane that she came into her body on.
Yeah.
I know. Yeah.
yeah.
Because there was like hoses everywhere. It was kind of, it's very Aliens.
And also very like Shakespearean the way it ends with Picard, grabbing the skull,
Oh.
and spine.
With the skull, yeah.
The skull, yeah, it just felt
Breaking
very Shakespearean, I
imagery.
think. Yeah, but
Oh yeah.
just really cool. I love the way he just snaps the spine to kind of finish her off. And then
I love that prop.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that is
it's
pretty
cool.
cool
It's
looking.
cool.
and then we get first contact. The ship completes. I love the way the ship separates, and you get like kind of the mini ship inside the rocket, and then the nacelles kind of pop out the side. So it's a little
Yeah, that's
reminiscent
cool.
of something you get from a Star Trek.
Yeah.
So
And I love that they use that sequence in the opening of Enterprise. It's kind
Oh,
of
do they?
Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
cool. Yeah, I mean it kind of wraps up
We get the
fairly
actual
quickly.
first
They go to
contact.
the make it down to the camp, and and the Vulcans show
coming
up.
down
So
and-
Yep.
Yeah, I didn't know
That
who
was
that,
neat.
It's such a good
that was going to
scene.
be. So
what's
As
that?
soon as you go ahead.
I was just going to say, I wasn't sure who it was going to be because I'd
Oh,
never
okay.
seen this.
Yeah.
So I thought it was whatchamacallit, a Klingon ship at first.
Oh, it's kind of a menacing looking.
That
I
would
don't
have
know
been
if this is just
interesting.
a shuttle. Yeah.
Like I wasn't
Oh, man.
expecting Vulcans out of that ship. So
Okay.
It make
Vulcans are the most appropriate, I think, for them to meet.
yeah.
Yeah. Next Generation does enough. Like I knew it was going to be Vulcans before watching this movie. It tells you enough of what First Contact is and how it happened, and that the Vulcans were the first ones to appear to make first contact with humans. So
it makes sense because they seem to like our biggest allies in the
Yeah.
Federation. Like ours,
Yeah,
like
they've always
like
been
I'm part
there.
of the Federation, but
And
Yeah.
they kind of look
It's
like
That's
a
something
neat
that Enterprise obviously builds on a lot.
yeah, it's neat how he, but it's like you could tell he's kind of Vulcan-ish, and then he pulls his hood down. And you're like, oh, there's the ears.
yeah, everyone's
Yeah.
horrified by this monster.
yeah,
There's some weird crowd reactions like, oh my god.
look at those ears.
Yeah.
See, if,
Was it an elf?
if this would have been, a non-humanoid first contact,
Oh,
I'm
man.
pretty sure they would have tried to stone them and
Yeah.
humans being humans.
Yeah.
But I did enjoy him failing at trying to do the Vulcan greeting.
Yeah. That's
It's like,
great.
Yeah,
you
that was a
don't
good
know
moment.
somebody that can't do it, and it's
Yeah.
I get that. It was
Yeah.
a nice little
Yeah.
And then he shakes his hand. It was
Yeah.
so good. It was
Yeah.
so perfect.
It is really good. The music kind of swelling. It is
Yeah.
perfect. Yeah.
I did like the music
Um,
scaring the
I know I've brought up Enterprise
Yeah.
a couple times, but one of my biggest complaints about the first episode of Enterprise is that it doesn't open with that scene. I feel like
Oh.
that would have been the perfect way to start that series. There's allusions
Yeah.
to it, and Zephyr Cochrane has a scene in that episode, but like that should have been the beginning of that show. Is that scene?
Sure.
First Contact. It's supposed to be the beginning of Star Trek. So
Yeah.
I did enjoy that Vulcan really
Missed
liked that
opportunity.
whiskey.
Yeah.
Like he was,
Yeah,
the music
that was
scared
good.
him, and then he went right back to drinking that whiskey like it was water.
He's not a fan of Roy Orbison, though.
But yeah, I guess Vulcans can hold their liquor.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Seeing like Picard like say his goodbye to Lily, it's like I really wish they were able to take this somewhere. I almost wish she could go with him, because they have really great chemistry, and I feel like with more time, like they could have become a couple. Like it just really worked for me. So it's just too bad that they don't have more time together.
There is precedence of taking somebody from the past into the future, so they
Star
could have
Trek-
done it.
yeah.
Yep. Yeah, but
It would have been
Star
cool
Trek
if she was
4.
brought on. Yeah. It would have been cool if she was like in the next movie though, like as part of the crew.
Yeah.
But yeah. A lot of missed opportunities. A lot of missed opportunities with these next two movies, as I know you're gonna
Oh,
get
yeah.
into. I might have to come back
Yeah.
and talk about those with you.
It's funny as my wife and I were watching this, and obviously everything's wrapping up, and she turned to me and said, "Wait a minute, wouldn't the Vulcans have noticed the Enterprise? Either wouldn't they have seen it orbiting Earth or detected its presence? They can obviously detect warp signatures and all this stuff. And then at that moment, it cuts to the bridge. Picard says, report. And Worf says, where is it? Oh, the moon's gravitational field obscured our warp signatures. That's why the Vulcans didn't detect their presence. And I call bullshit because if that was the case, all over Star Trek, you would have ships hiding behind moons to detect their presence. It's such a.
It does happen one other time, but yeah.
Okay.
Mr. Plinkett goes off on that. He completely goes off on that.
Okay.
And it was like how dumb of an explanation is. It's for the plebes in the audience who don't know Star Trek, and it's like we gotta throw something out there, but they threw a really piss poor explanation.
Well, and then the other one comes like a second later when Geordi says that they'll just recreate the temporal vortex, to go back.
That pisses me off. Yeah, that's the worst part of this movie for me.
They should have slungshot around the sun.
Exactly. Like there are plenty of ways to do. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or better yet, that could have been a good setup for another movie. Like, how do they get Back to the Future?
Oh. Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah.
Back to the Future. Struck by lightning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Some crazy white-haired scientists to come help them.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
But yeah. So those are the weird little. Just the movie has just such these. It's an awesome movie, but then it ends with these two weird little we'll just make up this bullshit to wrap things up.
Well, really, what it really ends with is a picture that the crew posing for a picture that nobody was taking.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah,
it's a nice bridge. I like the Enterprise E bridge. Looks good.
Yeah,
it's kind of cool. Yeah,
it's got cool blue lighting down low, but yeah, that's it's First Contact.
I believe there's a hero in all of us.
I just finally know what I have to do.
That keeps us honest.
I'm here to fight for truth and justice in the American way.
Gives us strength.
You will give the people of Earth an ideal to strive towards.
Makes us noble.
And I know in my heart that it's right.
Let's do most heroic. If anything stands out to anybody, like what their most heroic moment is.
I'll go. There's a lot of really good choices for most heroic, and I'm having a hard time nailing it down. But I will say, I think my most heroic will be Worf not murdering Picard where he stands when he calls him a coward.
Yeah,
nice. For real.
If you were any other man, I would kill you.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think Worf. That was a very heroic act of self-restraint by Worf right then and there.
Nice.
Yeah. I'm gonna have to go with another Worf moment because Worf is great in this movie. He's a total badass. But there's that scene where during the 0G walk, he's got he was shot, right? Like his suit was leaking. I guess he used like a Borg limb to stitch him up or whatever.
Yeah.
But he's got that moment where the what is that? The generator? I don't know. The thing that's floating off. It's like floating off into space, but it's still sending the signal out or whatever. And he's like, assimilate this, and he shoots it, blows up. Great
That's amazing.
Line delivery. Yeah. Like put that on the poster,
Yeah. Patrick, how about you?
It's hard to pick. I guess I'll gauge it by the point of the movie that made me go hell yeah.
Okay.
And I'll say Data's line of resistance is futile.
Nice.
And it's basically like just such a burn and a turn that I was just like, oh hell yeah.
Nice. Mine kind of culminates in that, but it starts with Picard. I talked about it before, the Picard and Data moment where he's teaching him about touch and feeling and touching this rocket. And then that leads to Data understanding the importance of Data literally makes first contact in this movie. He's got feelings now, but he doesn't have the feeling of touch until the Borg Queen. And she shows him what feeling is and this sense of touch. And then that, builds to the ending of the movie. Data's the one that saves the day when he avoids firing. He does that little deception where he tricks the Borg Queen into thinking that he's about to fire on the ship.
Yeah.
But that all comes from, I think, comes from Picard teaching Data the importance of touch. And in a movie called First Contact, it also is a movie where Data feels for the first time, not just with his emotions, but actually feels, the touch, I guess. So that was really cool.
And he sacrifices that. He sacrifices that part of himself to
Yeah.
save the day, which is interesting.
Totally.
Yeah.
This planet, these people, they are nothing to me. You were made to be ruled. The universe is power. You unstoppable power. Come to me, son of Jor-El. Kneel before Zod. And I am that force. I am that power. In the end, you will always kneel. Kneel before your master.
How about most villainous?
Oh man, there's some good villain moments. So the Borg Queen, when she's seemingly converted Data to her side. She has Picard strapped down, and she's about to destroy the Phoenix with the quantum torpedoes, right? And she's telling him, "Watch your futures end." And like that moment was just so like hopeless. Like you're like, shit, I don't know how this is gonna end. Like, is this a cliffhanger? Like, what's going on here? And then of course Data, never really turned to the dark side, so it was all good. But it's a great moment. Great moment.
I think for me, it's two of the most villainous moments, and I'm having a hard time flipping between it. Is when Picard killed that, that ensign or whatever. And he's like, "Captain, help me!" And he, f you. But I really think it's more. I'm going to go with the counterpoint to my most heroic, and that's when Picard called Worf a coward. Like he was all bent on. I mean, he knows damn well that Worf is not a coward.
Yeah.
So he, for him call him out like that, like I'm like, wow, you have really crossed the line, sir. How dare you?
Yeah.
I do like the little caveat at the end though, where when he comes to his senses and he's like, you are the bravest man that I've ever met.
Yes.
That was nice. But at that moment when he's like, you coward, I'm like, oh my God, I'm like, how dare you?
Let's see. My most villainous, and I still hated Picard throughout this movie.
Wow.
Just his stance on nobody else but him can be saved from being the Borg or whatever.
Yeah.
Is when he rips that chip out of his former crewmate. Like he's just digging through his body. And like no regard. He's like, oh yeah, this used to be so and so. Let me just rip this out here. And you could see Lily's face, like just looking at him.
Yeah,
like he's
cold.
a super villain. It's just such an unsettling scene, and he's never seemed more robotic or Borg-like than that point. Like he's just like, well, I got to take this chip out of this husk that used to be one of my crew.
That's a good
Man,
just so matter of fact. It's just very disturbing.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's tough to pick the Borg Queen herself is just so evil and like maliciously evil, but I think the seduction of Data, is for sure, like, I think the most sinister thing she does, playing with Data's emotions, basically.
Yeah, he's like a child. He's like a really intelligent kid, so it's kind of fucked up.
Weirdly, I felt bad for the Borg Queen.
Oh, really?
She just wanted somebody to love.
Oh,
she did it to herself, though.
She's looking for love in all the wrong places. It's tragic.
Yeah.
She just uses people.
Yeah, but you could tell she was really hurt.
Entire civilizations in her case.
Loquacious Picard, or whatever his name was, and Data.
Loquacious of Borg.
They both burned her bad, and she got hurt.
Never mind the fact that they're assimilating people beyond
they're just doing
outside of their will.
That's their thing.
Yeah. Just what they do.
JKL, baby, just keep living.
Yeah. They don't know any better. Come on.
Yeah.
She's trying to figure things out. She's just a crazy kid caught up in this whole Borg life.
Right. So the message of this episode
in this movie.
Yeah. The message for this episode is that Patrick, for one, embraces our future robot overlords.
Yeah. Come on. Get a sweet eyepiece.
Sure.
I'm sorry, but that was my favorite scene that shot with the laser eyes.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
just going all over
Yeah,
the
that's
place.
cool.
I was like,
Oh
sign me
yeah,
up,
that
sign me up.
oh they open up that dark room and it's just a bunch of laser pointers.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was cool.
Yeah, that was great.
Bunch of cats come in
It
and
scared
start
the shit
batting
out
at
of me
them.
as a kid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's a cool but horrifying moment. Yeah.
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 Remind me of laser tag and flashback.
Well, how about we go around and rate this thing? I'll go first and say that I'm at a 4. I'm in between a 4 and a 4.5. I'm totally willing to give it a 4.5 because I really don't. I mean, structurally and story, there are definitely some elements that are like, yeah, you just made up that get out of jail free card thing at the end.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I'd be happy giving it a 4.5 just because it's totally rewatchable. I mean, I watched it twice, in 2 days, and I enjoyed it both times. So
Okay.
I'll throw a 4.5 at it.
Yeah. I'll go. It's like a solid 4 for me. It's a good movie. I wouldn't say it's a great movie, but for whatever this numerical value is worth, I'd say a 4 is perfect for being rewatchable and entertaining. But yeah, it's not the greatest, but good times.
Well, I think it works so much better for me having the recent Next Generation and Deep Space Nine, like all that fresh in my memory. This is a perfect way to cap that off, I guess. So
yeah, and if you want to weight that, it's the fact that I knew nothing about this and obviously didn't know Picard's history from, I guess, the TV show with the Borg. It still was a fun movie to
that
watch,
makes a difference.
even from like
that's
a
good.
normie standpoint. So
that's
right
good
on.
to hear.
I'll give it a 4.5 as well, Travis, because to me, it's the best of the TNG movies. It's one of the better overall Star Trek movies, and it's infinitely rewatchable, in my opinion. Like, I've revisited it several times throughout the years. I've always enjoyed it. I'm glad I took a break from it, and then since it's not like I haven't watched it in a long time, so it was more fresh, again, and it was like nice to revisit it. There's definitely flaws with the movie. I mean, we could pick apart a lot more than what we did. Like I said, RLM, Mr. Plinkett review, picks it apart mercilessly. It's a very funny review.
As always.
However, none of that, even despite watching that, none of that ruins the movie for me.
Yeah.
It's still a fun movie. So yeah, 4.5 because I will definitely want to rewatch this again.
Right on. How about you, Eric?
I'm going to have to throw out a 4.75 because I think this is great. This still holds up for me for the most part. There's a couple things you could nitpick, of course, but definitely one of the best Star Trek movies still. It's up there. And yeah, I had a lot of fun with it. This, like I said, as a kid, this really cemented my fandom, and I've been gung-ho for Trek ever since.
Very cool. That makes it a 4.4375 overall. So
I knew that would be a fun number.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had a feeling. It's very appropriate for the Borg.
Yeah.
Stardate 4.375.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking. I was like, those freaking star dates are so convoluted. It's like there's got to be.
Man,
I think there's a method to it, but I've never figured it out. Yeah,
there's a method to them now. Back then, they were making it up, and then someone had to go back and make sense of it.
Oh, right, comment.
Right. Yeah. Nerd.
Yeah.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me. If there's people that can actually speak Klingon, I'm sure there's a way to go back and fix the star date. So
it's on Duolingo. Yeah. Klingon's on Duolingo.
Crazy.
I had a Klingon to English dictionary that I never figured out how to say anything, but I had
it. Kapla.
Yeah, right. Just say everything real
yeah. Yeah. Well, all right. Let's wrap this one up. Eric, why don't you go first and hit some plugs?
Sure. Yeah, thank you all for having me on. First of all, this has been great.
Yeah.
I've been listening to this podcast for a while. But yeah, you can find me all over the place. I'm on social media at Erik Slader. That's Eric with the Eric with the K, Slader with the D. D is in Delta. I'm on Epik Fails of History, Comic Zombie, the Super Switch Club, Podcasters Assemble, and Too Young for This Trek, which is a Star Trek podcast where we go through the best and worst of Star Trek in a completely random order with someone who's never seen before.
Nice.
It's a fun show.
You need to get Patrick on there and make him watch Spock's brain.
What?
That's a great idea. We might have to make that happen.
I'm scared.
We haven't covered that one
You
yet.
should be.
We just covered
there
Voyage
you go.
Home.
Do we cover other parts of Spock as well, or is it just
Yeah, there's
That's
a
after dark.
there's a
Yeah.
Spock's ass episode.
Spock's left testicle? I don't know.
Yeah.
All right.
We
That's
did a mock
gross and
time not too
disturbing.
long ago. That one's pretty.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, you might enjoy that one. Yeah.
Yeah. Bryon, hit it.
All right. Well, Travis, Patrick, thanks for having me back again. I appreciate coming back. Always enjoy listening and offering my feedback in the forum. But so it's good to give my feedback vocally for a change. It was a great movie, so I'm glad I got to come on for this one. But if you want to hear me, muse on other things, I have the Marine Corps Movie Minute podcast where I go through Marine Corps movies minute by minute or in some sort of fashion. Then I'm currently working on Hamilton Shot by Shot, which is a review of the Hamilton musical song by song. That's actively going now. And the big one is I'm pretty sure you're familiar with my partner for that other one at Marvel Events Timeline. Travis and I go ahead and are reviewing Marvel Comics starting at the very beginning back in 1939. We're going to hit all the major events of Marvel in the comic form. And so if you want to hear more of Travis and I, that's where you can find us. And we're just at Marvel Events Timeline Podcast. We're pretty much everywhere.
Yeah.
Man, I got to check that out. That sounds awesome.
Yeah, it's still fairly early days. So we're still in the 1940s, talking about, Human Torch and Namor and Captain America. So, but then also the people that are behind the scenes, the creators that are, coming up with this stuff.
That's the interesting part.
Yeah.
Kirby and them.
So, yeah. Check us out there. Patrick, what should listeners be looking forward to next time from us?
Should
we go back to the world of Spycraft? The super serious, spy movie franchises that we've talked about.
Yeah, super serious.
Yeah.
There's
James Bond and Mission Impossible and
Swedish Pumps. We're delving into Austin Powers, the spy who shagged me, I believe.
No, the International Man of Mystery.
Man of Mystery, that's it. Dang it.
I do that too all the time. I'll think of the title of this movie, and it sounds like it should be The Spy Who Shagged Me, but no.
No, it's the next. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
I am fearful for this movie because I enjoyed it when it came out.
Yeah.
And now I'm assuming it did not age well, and it's just going to be like eye-rolling galore.
I don't know. I have rewatched this a few times, over the years. It still works as a comedy.
Okay.
I worry about trying to review a comedy. That's never,
Yeah.
But
I think the first one holds up pretty well. The sequels do not, in my opinion.
For sure. Yeah.
So we'll be
and that's
spoofing
with a lot of
James
sequels.
Bond.
A lot of comedy sequels, they just try to like riff on the jokes from the first movie, like try to do it better, bigger, and it doesn't always work. Or it's funny the first time, and it's like, okay, I've heard this.
Yeah.
I remembered liking Dr. Evil more in this movie because he's more robotic. But we'll see because it's been a while.
Right on. Yeah. So we'll do a character review next, and then the next movie will be Austin Powers, International Man of Mystery. That'll probably do it for this one. It's been a little bit of a long episode, but we definitely had a lot to say about Star Trek. So, but gentlemen, thank you for joining us, and we'll be back. And happy First Contact Day if you're listening to this on the day that we release, of course, or in the year 2063. Until next time, stay safe out there, citizens.
In 1967, an international secret agent was cryogenically frozen in case the world ever required his services again. Now, evil is threatening the Earth, and the time has come to bring him back into the 90s.
Allow myself to introduce myself.
Danger Powers personal effects.
Actually, my name is Austin Powers. Danger's my middle name.
I'm gonna need you to sign these release forms.
Okay, name. Sex? Yes, please.
In his time, he was the coolest secret agent alive. Unfortunately,
It's freedom, baby. Yeah.
this is not his time. He's a swinger in a square world.
A lot's changed since 1967.
Bring on the sexy stews, man. Yeah.
We're called flight attendants now.
And he's a stranger in a strange land.
This is my mother, Mrs. Exposition.
Lovely.
Austin!
What have you done? That's not your mother. It's a man, baby. Why won't this wig come off? Judo, jump! Judo, jump! Ow! That really hurt. Who throws a shoe? Honestly.
Mike Myers,
Yeah, baby. Yeah.
Elizabeth Hurley,
Don't forget these.
Oh, thanks.
Austin Powers. International man of mystery.
Always wanting to have fun, Austin. That's you in a nutshell.
No, this is me in a nutshell. Help! I'm in a nutshell.
Thanks for listening to the podcast. Find the show on Facebook and Twitter at Real Comic Heroes. All music and audio are the property of their respective creators.